58.
Did we have a borough representative who went to the last borough meeting? You did? Okay. All right, that's excellent.
All right. They talked, I mean, the most talked about one was the 2,000 acres that they rezoned.
Yeah.
How did you come? But, yeah, right? I was like,
All right.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk, appreciate it. Good evening for the Committee of the Whole. Welcome. For this evening, we will be looking at the minutes from December 15th, regular meeting, January 5th, Committee of the Whole, and January 5th, regular meeting minutes. Do we have any adjustments or corrections that we need to talk about on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll have communications from the mayor. I'll keep it real brief. We do have a student of the month coming in, a 5-year pin, and then an oath of office for Mr. Coroner. We'll have reports, and then we'll move on to an unfinished business, the greater analysis of the North Pole Economic Development Supporting Plan that was postponed from the January 5th meeting. Are there any questions about that proposal or anything related to that? I know that it was postponed. Please.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
I was hoping you'd be here because I had some questions about things like having been the former senior ranger out at the Chino Lake Recreation Area. I was wondering, I had some questions about the Chino Lake proposed, not expansion, but you know what I mean. It was in that document that you all put together with a lot of time, energy, and labor. Yeah, annexation.
So I know that this was put together by the committee and chaired by Howard Rixey. He put this report together. My ask for the council is to use this as a planning document, not to be exclusive, but to use it as local information that we have received from the 10 people on that committee. My concern in the way that the original resolution was written was that there's zero public comment on this plan. But it really is a grassroots plan that we don't have to follow. But we should definitely review that along with all of the other plans that we have before making a decision. There was a lot of work and effort in this plan, and I want to commend those committee members who were part of putting this plan together by accepting this plan. Not that we have to use everything in it, similar to the strategic plan, but it certainly is and can be used as information moving forward as to what the city can and might do in the future. As far as annexation, I have no plans on that myself. I think annexation is a 4-letter word. I don't see the benefit to that, but things could change, especially if we ended up running water across the highway and encompassing that with North Pole Utilities in the near future or in the future. I see that as something that the city of North Pole may take on, but I can't exclude that. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years or 20 years from now. It certainly isn't my playbook to have that happen. You bet. Any other questions? Okay. That brings us on to the next unfinished item, the retention of the law firm. Similar to our last meeting where we had 2 councilmen missing, we do have a councilman missing this evening. As was described at the last meeting, the reason it was postponed is because we didn't have councilmen present I believe the same applies tonight, and I would like to move to postpone that or would request to postpone that until we have the entire council present. Any questions about that?
Councilman, do we put this through? All of us?
We would need a vote of 5 to decide whether or not to retain the law firm.
We got 5 councilmen here, so we just get. That's what I'm looking at.
We had 5 councilmen last time.
Last time, one of the council members who called for the vote was not present, and it didn't seem appropriate to go forward with it.
Okay, but you still had 5 to be able to move that forward. I'm just,
The-
you've set the
the-
precedent, sir. I'm just
Well, we can vote.
asking that we,
Well, it takes 4 of us have to agree to remove it from the agenda.
yeah, I know, that's why I wanted to discuss it, but we set a precedence last meeting of not discussing that because we didn't have a full council here. With that precedence, I would suggest the same and we postpone that until the next meeting.
4 votes, right?
Need 5.
5.
We got
Yep.
5 people here, right?
We have 6.
We do. And we had 5 people at our last
We have
meeting.
people here, so we should go through it. Okay?
So that will be on the agenda this evening. The next request to council item C of unfinished business, accept the Fairbanks Communication FCC contract or contract extension that was postponed from our last meeting. And Councilman Brandt, you may, I might just move to you for a staff report since you went ahead and tried to update that contract or updated that contract.
I believe Chief Heidenkin would be more appropriate for the staff report.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was postponed the last meeting due to a request to have the original 2021 added to the packet. So that's what I've done. I've added that to the packet and gave that to the clerk to have included. This renews the contract till the end of June 2026, in which time FECC plans on using their new business agreement to form new contracts. This isn't just for the North Pole agencies all around the borough that they dispatch for will be doing the same process. So this will get us through the next 6 months to ensure that law enforcement and fire and EMS have dispatching services.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any discussion about that?
This does not.
Go ahead, Councilman
This
Brandt.
does not extend the 2021 contract. It's a whole new contract, just for 18 months from January 1st, 2025 through June 30th.
Yeah, I was giving a briefing on what I had presented to the council, so anything further you would definitely have to expand on.
Yeah. So what we have is a contract A and a proposed substitute. Councilman Brandt, if you want to go ahead and take the mic and talk about the proposed substitute.
There were several issues with the old contract. First of all, we were out of contract. We didn't sign an extension in 2025, and you cannot renew or you cannot extend a contract that is what's the word I'm looking for? Expired. Thank you. You can't extend an expired contract, so that was one of the issues. There were a couple other issues with it. I talked to the Fairbanks, the city of Fairbanks attorney, went over all the issues that I found with it. He decided the best thing to do would be just to write a whole new contract that is from January 1st, 2025 through June 30th of 2026. They're going to be doing a whole new business model and a whole new contract in June for starting July 1st. So that's what the substitute here is. It's a new contract, and that was approved by the, everything in this is exactly the same except for the dates, and there are no extensions on this contract. But everything else is exactly the same as the old contract.
So in reviewing that contract, I disagree. It's not exactly the same. And I agree with you that the original 2021 contract had some issues, which we tried to correct with the extension. And the meeting that we had with both of the chiefs, our CFO, the CFO from the city of Fairbanks, myself, and the chief of staff for the city of Fairbanks to discuss this contract and the extension and the inherent issues in the original contract that we had. I'm uncertain of why you as a councilman tried to take this on and move forward with the city of Fairbanks attorney in updating this contract without the approval of the council, and to not have the two entities that are most affected by this contract be involved with that, I think is a real disservice to our city. I would like to move to postpone this entire action again until we have our city attorney review this contract that has been proposed as a substitution. I don't necessarily personally have any issue with the substitution, but our legal team has not had a chance to review that, nor were they provided the opportunity in that.
I didn't do this just as any council member. I was mayor pro tem at the time while you were absent. I took it upon myself to reach out to the lawyer, Fairbanks City lawyer. And it's their contract. The problems with it were their problems. Mr. Chard was extremely grateful that I reached out to him, was very helpful. And there is no differences in the new contract than the old contract, except for the dates and the fact that there's no extensions. Everything else is identical. We could not legally extend the prior contract. There was no way that we could legally have done that.
Why, can I ask why you feel that way and why you say that?
Again, like I say, the contract was expired. You cannot legally extend an expired contract. The contract was expired for well over a year. So it is, and that's not just my opinion. The Fairbanks attorney agreed with that and thanked me for bringing that up. There's a couple other issues with it. You cannot extend a contract beyond the length of the contract. The contract was from January 2021 for 1 year, and there was 4 extensions on the contract, so that would take it through 2025. You cannot extend a contract beyond the terms of the contract, and we were being asked to extend the contract 6 months beyond the terms of the contract.
The original contract, just, I want a point of clarification, Councilman Brandt. We did have an extension until the end of 2025 that was signed earlier in 2025. I believe it was January of 2025 that extension was signed, but
Not according to the documentation that we received.
don't hold me to that. Thank you for the interruption, sir. And then secondly, our code specifically says that the 5-year contractual limit that I believe you're stating doesn't apply to intergovernmental agency contracts.
Not what I'm stating, Larry.
In the original contract, it does state 1 year, but then it lists a 2-year extension term.
It does not. There was a typo in the contract.
There's quite a few typos in the original contract. So I'd like to just request that we postpone this until it can be reviewed by our legal team and by our attorney.
What differences are in the new contract? They're not in the old contract then, if you're claiming there's several differences.
That's what I'd like to ask you, since you're so very certain that there's no differences.
I told you
Um,
the differences between the contracts.
But then you also stated that we weren't in contract as of 2025, and we were in contract of all of last year. And I would prefer to just postpone this. Is there an imminent issue with postponing this contract from our chiefs? Knowing that per our current contract that we have, that it did expire in December 31st of 2025, that the Fairbanks Dispatch is required to give us a 1-year exit plan per our contract. Is there any issue if we were to postpone this until our next meeting, until our attorney could review the contract as substituted by Councilman Brandt?
Yeah, I say we're currently out of contract now. I don't predict we'll have any issues with receiving dispatching, over the interim while we're out of contract. You want to add?
I mean, if there's truly no substantive changes to it, I don't particularly extend it. I think he's correct in that technically it wouldn't cause a lapse in services, but I like having my contracts prompt. Oh, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but also if there's not really big changes in it and it was approved by their city attorney, okay with it. What I would ask is maybe that we loop next time, so aware of what's going on.
I think that's a very fair request, since you guys are most affected by the
I
dispatching
did bring it up
contract.
during the staff meeting.
Okay, and at that time, did you inform both chiefs that you were planning on speaking with
Was
the
not given the
Fairbank
opportunity to at
city
the
attorney
staff meeting.
to
And
update
it doesn't
that?
matter, Larry, why are you fighting this so hard? There is no difference between this contract and the old contract, except for we fixed what the errors were in the old contract. Everything is substantially the same. The only difference, like I stated, is that there are no extensions in this contract, and that's specifically because they're writing a whole new business plan, and they're going to be doing a whole new contract for the fiscal year of starting July 1st. Other than that, there is no differences in this, and it fixed the problems that we had before. And for you to say that we did sign a contract in 2024, an extension, is false. And for you to say that it provided for an extension beyond 2025 is false.
Okay. If we have time after this, I will go print that for you so that you have that, and I would like an apology when I'm able to provide that contract to you. If you
Have
wouldn't
both of them
mind.
right in front of me. You can show us the difference right now.
I would also like to point out that per our city code, it's required that the city attorney review any contracts that the city enter into, regardless of whether or not the Fairbanks city attorney has reviewed it. It's stated very clearly in our code, and in speaking with Landy Bennett and Bloomstein this afternoon, neither River nor Matt have received this contract to be able to review it. And I understand that the contract has been approved by the city of Fairbanks and Tom Chard, but that necessarily doesn't apply with any respect to the city of North Pole and our city attorney. So we can discuss it during the meeting. That's fine. We certainly can talk about it, but I would request that we postpone that until our city attorney has a chance to review that. Brings us on to item 12A, ordinance 2026-01, amending the terms of service. And I would like to thank Councilwoman Rolfe and Councilman Brandt for bringing this forward. When I read this section of code and putting together the committees, I noticed the exact same thing, and it's nice to see that happen. I had plans on adjusting that when I got back, but thank you for beating me to the punch, both of you. Is there any discussion on that? Is there any objection to maybe consenting that item, as it makes a lot of sense?
I think we should bring it in the meeting.
Okay. Okay, that sounds great. That brings us on to B, Resolution 26-03, a transfer to Hamlet. Councilman Brandt, would you like to talk about the request for that since that happened while I was on vacation?
So in talking with our CFO, we have over $3 million sitting in our Mount McKinley bank. I requested we transfer $2 million over to our AMLIP account, which is currently getting about 3 times the interest rate. She recommended $1 million, and I trust her implicitly, so that's what I put forward.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that? I know that when I sat down with Mount McKinley Bank and talked to them about our banking accounts, that they had a new account system that would provide a little bit better interest rate to the city of North Pole for retaining our accounts there with the large balance that we had. I tried to reach out this morning to Mount McKinley Bank to see where the process was in having our funds move there, but we were not able to connect. So,
Ms. Fogarty and I did talk about that also, and they have not done that yet.
okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. Moves us on to request to council from our auditor. Item C. In reading through this, we are in contract with this CPA firm and have been for the last 2 years. They've done our audit services. I wish our CFO was here to be able to talk about that contract and this request. But she is not. Is there any questions about this request?
No questions, Mayor, but she seemed pleased with the firm itself, her past experience with it, and seemed fine with the contract from her perspective.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you, Councilman Claus. I would move to consent that item, or request that we maybe look to consent that item to shorten up our business for this evening. Brings us on to item D, request counsel for the Police Department K-9 program. Do you want to speak to that, Chief, or you want to wait until the meeting?
Just the same thing I brought up before, looking for a general vote of support from y'all. Not asking for any funding at this time. Just wanted to make you all very much aware and part of the process of implementing a program like this, and make sure that you're all on board as I work through the different facets of it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the chief? Yeah, Ms. Rolfe.
Have you talked to our insurance carrier yet? Because the first thing that strikes me is the huge liability this opens for the city if we get a canine.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing, but it actually isn't. So they said we can do it with no changes to insurance whatsoever. So I suppose it's actually a lower liability than an officer.
All right, please.
So Chief, will you be making a brief presentation during the actual meeting itself, council meeting?
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
Okay, that moves us on to item E, request council secure area at police station. Thank you for this, Chief. I assume that this is confidential for us only?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I brought it up before, but looking for the same type of support, kind of as the K-9 program for this particular project, in enhancing the security to our building. You'll notice the first page I gave you is some pretty basic security recommendations put out by FEMA regarding physical security for buildings such as ours at the police department. So there's also two proposals as part of that packet. One that is more expansive than the other. Either one could be done, and it largely depends on the availability of the land associated with that. So happy to talk a little bit more during the actual meeting or answer any questions that you might have. I'm trying to also be a little bit careful in how I describe the project, just to make sure that we maintain a level of security at the police department. But largely what we're talking about is fencing off the back area behind the police department.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Is there any request to consent this item, or would council prefer to discuss it?
I think we need to discuss it so everybody knows what's going on. And
All right.
if we keep it going, then they can say that, you know, that they heard about it. So
Wonderful.
we need to talk about it.
All right, thank you.
And
That
the explanation you gave was good.
brings us to item F, request to council recommendations for adopting the City of North Pole utility standards dated July 25. Director Glidden, do you want to speak on that real quick? We have about 2.5 minutes, or,
Yeah, we probably should just wait till the meeting. It's
okay,
probably gonna take more than that.
okay. Did everyone get a chance to review those standards? Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. And then if we have time, we'll get to the executive session. Let's take a quick break here of about 3 minutes, and then we'll get started with the meeting. If anyone wishes to sign up for public comment during citizens' comments, please come forth. And then as we get to that portion, you can just step forward and check your name off the list if you would. Hey, how are you?
Tell me what the difference is. They're just added.
Oh, I haven't found any differences.
On the, he said stations. Added, he said that.
Which doesn't affect any,
I said,
residential contractor.
I said that
Okay,
it
just
is.
get that in develops. If
Councilman Brandt?
the developer is gonna put in a water main.
Yeah.
They want us to take that.
Correct.
So it's just gonna be,
And what is it at?
plastic pipe.
So is that a backflow?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of the plastic?
We just use that instead of the steel water mains.
Oh, gotcha. So it's an option
Was
of
it E
HDP.
HDP?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's what we used on the. I believe. Church that,
Yeah. That was,
I think that's the.
yeah, there was
purpose
HDP.
of the update.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
we've used it, it's now
Okay.
in our system and
Okay.
we need to get.
Okay.
this in.
Okay. Okay.
But we had, stand tap. Yeah, yeah. This is gonna.
I just didn't want it to. Right.
Right.
Any kind of development.
No.
Actually, it's not. It's and it can just.
I'm gonna reference this in. My department head.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna talk about this. My department head, this. Yes. Do not disappoint.
Yeah.
You gonna change it at 7:15? You go to 7:45, or no, 9:15, 9:40, what did you say, 9:45? Yeah. Bingo. Sorry. I'm supporting you. Probably just student and be a five. They'll take it. I'll do it. Let me see. Yeah, they're pretty beyond.
If we go into executive session, is there that?
I want to be able to. Come to you and have a beer before I do anything else. So that's just.
Or did this just get thrown on our? Oh, gotcha. Okay. I was confused by the additions of documents here.
All right, guys.
Okay, good evening and thank you for joining us for our regular city council meeting. Today is January 20th, 2026. I'm so glad to see a full chambers. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Rolfe?
Here.
Mr. Skips has an excused absence. Mr. Schuster?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Mr. Williams? Mr. Claus?
Here.
Mayor Church?
Here. Thank you. Please stand, remove your hats, and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father, as for our council meeting today, may our hearts be united in love and fellowship. Tear down any barriers that divide us and fill us with spirit of unity and harmony. May our work, our desires for a united and loving meeting. In your name,
Amen. Thank you for that, Councilman Williams. That brings us on to item 4, citizens' comments. Madam Clerk, please read the disclaimer.
Any person wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda needs to sign up on the list located at the public testimony table. Respectful standards of decorum and courtesy should be observed by all speakers. Remarks should be directed to the council as a body rather than by any member of the council or staff.
Citizens' comments, anyone? Not on the agenda? All right, please come forth, have a seat, state your name and your area of residence.
Hi. Hi, my name is Barbara Haney. Nice to see you guys. Been kind of working in my role as a private citizen for a little while, and now that I'm no longer on the assembly. But wanted to come before you today because I happen to notice that there is a seat vacant on the, I guess it's on FEDCO, the Economic Development Commission for the borough. And in past times, that was limited to somebody who was a city resident. They changed the requirements for that to somebody who lives outside the city, but is approved by the city council. And so I don't know if you have someone already scheduled or selected to do that. But if you don't, I would be very interested in serving in that capacity. As many of you know, I have a PhD in economics. I have done a lot of economic work for states, not smaller cities. But I would be willing to put forward my name as someone to serve in that capacity in the event that you don't have a city resident willing to do so. I'll be commenting later on the economic plan. I guess I have to do that when the time comes, but I wanted to get that out there first and foremost so that it didn't get caught up in the rest of the agenda. So any questions or comments or anything?
Any questions for Ms. Haney? I would like to say thank you for stepping forward. I appreciate citizens when they come forward to serve their community. I have been asking over and over again for a representative on that, along with the IGU board. And also we have an opening on fast planning for the walk and roll committee, if someone is out there listening who would like to serve on that. So thank you for that. I will give you a call tomorrow if that's okay, and we'll talk about the requirements of that volunteerism. And thank you for your willingness to serve our community.
Whether you pick me or not, the one thing you need to keep in mind, now that FEDCO is the Ardor, that is an increasingly important position. And especially now with the comprehensive plan being written. I don't know how much you're aware of the importance of the comprehensive plan, but the comprehensive plan also serves as a legal document in future legal cases. If you want to do something and it's not in that plan and the borough says no, and you go to court, guess what? It's not in the comprehensive plan, so it's not happening. So you always have to amend that comprehensive plan to be able to do anything, and that takes the process of maybe even opening a simple candy store. It could take, which should be, you put the little thing there and you open the store and sell candy, right? No, no, no. If you're not zoned correctly and all this other stuff, it can take what should be like maybe a 2-month process and make it a 2-year process. So I really want to encourage you to make sure you have somebody there looking out for the city. If you don't like me, that's okay. I won't take it personal. But you better get somebody. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Haney.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who would like to give citizens comments this evening? Is there anyone online, Madam Clerk?
I have no one online.
Okay. No one else? Citizens' comments is now closed on items not related to anything on our agenda. Moves us on to action item 5, approval of the agenda. Could I get a motion, please?
Move to approve this evening's agenda.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda for this evening? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Thank you. That brings us on to action item 6, approval of the minutes. Let's start with A, B, and C. Are there any adjustments to any of those minutes as described? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on A, B, and C.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Can we get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from December 15th, 2025, January 5th, 2026, and January 5th, 2026. Those are the regular meeting minutes, committee of the whole, and the regular meeting minutes.
I will second that. Thank you for that, Councilman Claus. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now please call the roll.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Anyone like to change their vote? All right, with that, that brings us on to action item 7, communications from the mayor. We have a student of the month for North Pole High School, Mr. Zachary Denny, who is joining us this evening, correct? Hello, Zachary. Thank you for joining us. He is involved with the soccer men's team at North Pole High School, the men's football team, the National Honor Society, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He volunteers for Santa's Helpers, the Lions Club Eyeglass Recycling Center, the Fairbanks Food Bank, and North Pole High School Trash Pickup. He won an award in the Arctic Winter Games in 2024. He's been the Student of the Month in Math, Science, and has worked in the front office at North Pole High School. He plays North Pole High School football. He's also part of the Do What's Right Club. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but it sounds great. The student sports speaker for the Rotary Club. I'd like to present Zachary Denny with Student of the Month from North Pole City Council. Congrats. Thank you for joining us, Denny family. You can choose to stay if you'd like to listen to the business of the city of North Pole, or to leave. That's quite all right as well at any time. But congratulations, Mr. Denny. Thank you for doing all you do for North Pole. With that, I would like to invite Chief Smith forward. To present our next award.
Sergeant Dykeman. Now you just got. So always important that we recognize, achievements of our employees, especially someone as faithful as Sergeant Dykeman here. Been with us now for 5 years at the police department. Prior to that, he actually came from Area 51 in Roswell, New Mexico. So it was a good change, apparently. But out there. I won't keep you up here too long, but we've got your 5-year pin here and then a certificate as well, commemorating that. So well done, sir.
You guys. Service. We got them too.
I'll get there.
Oh, congrats. Any truth to Area 51?
He can't answer that in a public meeting, but thank you, Councilman Williams. That brings us on to an oath of office. Madam Clerk, would you like to step forth and take care of that?
I need to awkwardly hold the microphone for him.
I, Travis Kerner,
Travis Kerner, do solemnly swear
support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Alaska,
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
City of-
the Code of Ordinance for the City of North Pole,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge my duties as corporal, so help me God.
Thank you for your service to the city of North Pole. We do appreciate it. The remainder of communications from the mayor, I don't have a whole lot. Thank you to Councilman Mayor Pro Tem David Brandt for filling in my absence. I was on vacation last meeting, so I appreciate that. With that, that moves us on to item 8, council member questions of the mayor. Seeing none, that moves us on to communications from department heads. And Madam Clerk, let's start with you.
January means annual training here at the City of North Pole. Most employees have completed their anti-bullying and harassment training, and that's for all council members and employees. If you haven't yet, please send me the signed acknowledgement by the Friday, the 23rd. That's all I got.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Chief, Director, take your pick as to who would like to go next.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. So I gave you guys some papers right before this started. On September 15th, 2025, I brought a memo requesting some money for a vehicle for utilities. And I just received the invoice this week and noticed that I made a mistake in that memo. I put 2 different numbers in the memo. If you see, I've highlighted in the body of the memo, it says $52,415. And at the base of the memo and the recommendation, it says $53,415. And if you turn the page, you can see that the actual estimate is $53,415. So my mistake is I put 2 different numbers, and I went back and checked to see if we talked about that during the meeting, but it was consented, which means we talked about it in the meeting of the whole before the council meeting, which means we didn't record it because it was in September. So I don't know that it came up that I made this mistake or not. So I want to bring it up now before I insert the invoice. The actual number is $53,415 for the vehicle.
Thank you for that, Director Glidden. In your recommendation, it does list $53,415, which was your recommendation, which was the item that was consented. But thank you for bringing that error forth.
Yeah.
I don't recall whether or not we talked about it either, but in the notice of action, it does state 52,415 as a clerical error. So.
So as the update, the truck is actually in Anchorage, and they dropped it off yesterday to get it shipped here. So as long as everybody's still okay, I'm going to put in that invoice for the 53,000. And then so that's for utilities. Also through utilities, the FAST committee has publicly accessible EV charging stations in Fairbanks and North Pole. They've got $2.4 million that they're going to spend putting electric vehicle charging stations in the area. There's a 9.03% match. And the contract will be to make them operational for at least 5 years. The current thought and fast is to have the city of Fairbanks pick a location in Fairbanks, have the city of North Pole pick a location in North Pole, and then have the borough pick 2 locations in the borough that they want. The current recommendation for the city of North Pole, the borough would like to put one at the library. And then just for us as the city, I put in a request for one at the old water treatment plant. We've got that building that we don't use next to the current one, right next to the Santa Senior Center. I thought that parking lot would be a good area. It's out of the way. And then we've got the power line is right there. So theoretically, the city of North Pole is going to recommend a spot. So I just wanted to see if you guys had any thoughts or feelings on this. If we go with the North Pole Library one, then that would be through the borough. So the borough would have to pay the 9% match, and they would have to maintain those for 5 years. But they would get the revenue from selling the electricities for those vehicles. If we did the water treatment plant, then the city would have to pay the 9% match. The city would have to maintain those for 5 years, but the city would also get the revenue from that. And the main reason why I picked that spot is because it's a utilities property, and the utilities is an enterprise fund, so it's got its own money. And the sewer department currently doesn't make as much money as needed. So my thought was that if we put these charging stations on a utility property and used the sewer department's money to make the match, then the revenue that came from that would go into the sewer department's budget and would help bring that maybe closer to even. Those are my thoughts. But if we don't want that, then we can obviously pick the North Pole Library one and allow the borough to have to do all of the things.
Yeah, please. My question is, if we put it over there near the water plant, I know how some people are. So would it be possible, like security around it to light that place up? Because you know how people are.
Right. Yeah. So part of the main thought is security. So part of the design would be lights and cameras,
Okay.
and then access to it year-round maintenance. So it's a pretty extensive
Okay.
thought that's going into it for sure.
Councilman Schuster.
You probably said about what's the cost? What would the match be?
So the total amount they can spend is 2.4 million, but there's no way to know until they design each one what it's going to cost. My guess is it's probably going to be 200,000 or 300,000, but the DOT is currently making basically a stamp design, and they're figuring out, making an estimate on what that one's going to cost, and then it would change by location based on what they need. But they're working on getting an actual rough estimate for us. This isn't an action item. I didn't put it in there because we're not actually voting on it. I just want to let you know that we're having this conversation in the FAST committee, and if any of you guys have any input, then I'll bring that through to them.
Yeah, I do have a couple more things. If you could find out what the maintenance is like besides, keeping the area clean, what kind of maintenance do those machines need? And then I guess my other question would be, so just on how it works, obviously you talked about revenues from power, but we pay Golden Valley and then we charge an additional on top of that.
Yeah, so generally the charging stations charge by the minute. So like the one that's at GVEA, they charge 20 cents a minute. So while that cord is plugged into your truck, you're charging 20 cents per minute. So however long you sit on that charger, that's what you get. So we would, because it would be owned by us, we would be able to set the price based on what we feel like is good. But that's the only one. I guess there's a Tesla one at Fred Meyer's in Fairbanks too, but I don't know what that one costs.
I would be curious if that one was, did Fred Meyer's pay for that, or?
Oh, I don't. Oh, no.
Okay.
So there are, I believe, 12 total proposals for this program. And some of them are private people, and there are probably 4 other locations in North Pole that private companies want. So like Three Bears, they want to put one there. Right across the street here next to the Taco King, where they tore down those trailers. Somebody wants to put one there. But the FAST committee currently Their current thought is that they would like to do this first round with government agencies to see how the process goes and see if it's going to work out, because it's federal funding that's paying for it. So they don't want us to pick a private company to give the money to currently, but they might in a couple years.
Please, Councilman Brandt.
So this would be owned by the enterprise fund? So
Yeah.
the matching, the 9% matching grant would come out of the enterprise fund, not out of the general fund?
Yes, that's my thought. Yes.
Okay. And do you have any idea? I know you probably don't have a firm idea, but what the annual maintenance would be on something like that?
There should be no maintenance. It's just, it would be the same amount of maintenance as we spend on the electricity coming into this building, right? It's just going to be a transformer and then a device that produces or sends out electricity. So as long as nobody hits it with a truck, there's not really maintenance that needs to be done to it.
Okay.
Oh, you said that would we pay or would the individual that's plugging his vehicle in pay with a credit card or?
Yeah, so it would work just like a gas station.
Got it. Okay.
Anybody that wants to get electricity would have to set up an account. It would depend on who they went with to provide the actual charging stations. If they went with a Tesla or I believe it's Flow is what GVEA is using. So each provider of the actual machine has their own system set up. I know Ford has a deal where you sign up directly with them and their charging stations just recognize your vehicle when you plug it in, and it charges it directly to the app. So you don't have to do anything. The Flow one at GVEA, you have to set up an account through Flow, and it works almost like a prepaid calling card type situation. But you can't get anything without paying for it. So,
Councilman Schuster.
No, I was just gonna say there'd be some maintenance costs and snow removal and trash pickup
for sure.
and,
Yeah.
but
I think about like a regular gas pump. You see those few people a year driving around with their gas pump still attached in their vehicle with the hose dragging behind them. I don't know if that's a thing or not with electric vehicles, but I certainly would have to do some research on that and then question why we're using sewer reserve funds to do this, even though it may benefit the sewer fund. I'm an outside the box thinker, but that might be too far outside the box to be able to use that without the approval of our city residents. I do like the idea of an outside the box thinking, but ultimately, if we had higher maintenance costs than any of the income coming in, that would create a liability for the enterprise fund more so than we already have, which I think would be problematic. But I guess we'll discuss that further when you put it on the agenda and move it forward, or ask for a recommendation to our council as to what to do. Do you have more for your report, or are there any more questions?
I got a question.
Please.
Why would you have to do it? It's in his ballpark. He needs to come out with that information. All right? You don't need to be involved with that. That's his. Think about it.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Williams. I appreciate that. Any other questions for Director Glidden? Okay. Seeing none. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the public. Say, it looks like everybody survived the big cold snap. In looking at the audience we had, everybody was wanting to get out and about. So I'm glad to see that. For the fire department tonight, so our current apprentices, the 3 apprentices we've got going, have been with us for 6 months now and are doing tremendous work. They've all got their certifications and qualifications, been knocking them out of the park. They've been working shifts since September and will continue to work shift for the next 6 months with us as they finish up their 12-month apprenticeship. I just can't emphasize enough how successful The first year was, and then this second year is exactly the same. We're really thrilled with these 3 young apprentices. And with that, we're starting to look at next year's. So applications are being taken through the end of March for the next year's 3 apprentice that we'll put together, and they'll start July 1. So if anybody in the community has graduating seniors, that's what this program is based on, is the graduating seniors, to get them into the career field of emergency services. It's a good way for them to dip their foot into the water to see whether it's a type of career that they would excel in. And it's a big benefit to somebody coming right out of high school to be able to get that type of experience right out the door. So if you have any contacts with graduating seniors, you can give them the phone number for the fire department, the email address, whatever they can get a hold of us, and we'll get them steered in the right direction to apply. The only other thing I have for tonight is the first week of February, I'll be traveling to Juneau to attend the State Fire Chiefs Leadership Summit. I'll be down there for the week, so I will miss the next council meeting. So, and I can take any questions.
Please, Councilman Claus.
Chief, with the program, that's quite a model program. Are any boroughs or cities going to emulate that, what you've been doing with the?
I'm hoping so. We've had a lot of talk statewide, actually. I've had a lot of fire chiefs approach me and kind of bend my ear on the program. I don't have any specific that have started, but there's definitely intent. There's been intent to try to do the same. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the day that I can report that there's multiple departments out there following our footsteps, because it is a successful program.
Thank you for all you do, Chief. I appreciate it. Chief Smith, good evening.
Even, short update, most of what I'm working on is on the agenda tonight, so that'll be handy there. A couple things we did just recently hire our 14th officer. He will be starting the 22nd of February because he needs to move up here from Oregon, though he grew up in the area and has lived here his entire life and wants to come back long term. So should be a very good fit for us and for the area. We did also recently purchase and upgrade all of our ancient fluorescent ballasts in the old half of the police department to LED flat panel lighting, and Chris Illingworth was able to actually install all of that, saving us a tremendous amount. So hopefully that will help with some of the energy costs. We discovered some fairly disturbing burns and things when we took these lights down, so I'm glad we got in there and changed that out. And that's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any questions?
Ooh, got one.
Please, Councilman Williams.
When you change the lights out, you change the bulbs too, right?
The whole thing.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Chief. And I understand that we had a borough representative, Councilwoman Rolfe. You want to give a report?
Yeah, I attended the borough meeting on Thursday. It was a pretty quick meeting. They didn't have a whole lot of items on their agenda. I guess the most talked about item on the agenda was the rezoning of the 2,100 acres out off of Johnson Road. They're going to be rezoned from GU1 to agriculture. And one of the reasons they stated for that is the larger lot sizes in that agriculture looking to do. And so they have some plans there on that. So the borough approved that. They also approved a sale of a small chunk of the land that the library sits on. And that was necessary for the expansion of Cowles that's going to occur that DOT is going to be doing. So they approved that. So that sale will actually occur to DOT. That just shortened the process because anyways. And so they did that just to kind of shorten the process. But those were really the main things that were on the agenda. There was a little bit of discussion about the economic development plan that's on the agenda tonight, whether our powers, whether that's an overstep of our powers. So there's a little bit of discussion about that and whether there had been any talks with the communities outside of the city of North Pole that occurred during the development of this plan.
Okay, thank you for that report. I believe that finishes item 9, brings us on to item 10, ongoing project reports.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the clerk.
We started with her, but
Did we?
thank you for thinking of that. That is correct, right? We did start with the clerk. Okay, thank you. Brings us on to item 10, ongoing reports. We have been working here at the City of North Pole on a light audit, and I would like to thank Tim Glidden and his guys from Public Works for getting out there and taking care of that. That's our city street lights and our contract that we have with GVA. We're looking to update that and try and save some money as we have upgraded our city lights since 2017 when the last light audit was done, in hopes to save the city some money on our electric bills as electric bills continue to go up. So as we continue with that process, we'll hear more about it, but I wanted to give a shout out to Director Glidden and his guys at Public Works for knocking that out and making it happen and getting moving on that. So with that, it brings us to unfinished business, item 11A. Can I get a motion, please, for item A?
There are move to approve, move to introduce, resolution 2026-02, accepting an analysis of the Greater North Pole Community Economic Development and supporting a plan postponed from our January 5th, 2026 regular council meeting.
I will second that. Thank you, Councilman Claus. That was quite a mouthful. That brings us on to a staff report. I'll give my 2 cents, and then if Mr. Rixey would like to come forth as the chair and give his report, if you want to, on your way up, Mr. Rixey, grab the mic if you wouldn't mind. I put this resolution together. It was suggested by the committee to have a much stronger resolution that would implement absolutely everything throughout the economic development and supporting plan. I saw some inherent issues with that, and I'm just going to speak real frank about that, that there wasn't public input on that. As much as I love a lot of the ideas, I think it's an important document that we use moving forward, and we review this along with all of the other strategic plans that we have from the City of North Pole that was done and updated back in 2017 or 16, I guess, and then updated 2 years ago. We have the Salcha Road, Badger Road, Salcha sub-area plan. I was part of that committee in putting that together. There's a lot of great information. This is really a grassroots plan, and I appreciate that. But to move it forward with having this be the only thing that we look at in planning for the City of North Pole moving forward didn't seem appropriate. I'm sorry, Howard. I know that we disagree in that, but please continue with your chair report, and thank you for being here this evening.
Okay. I don't know how to approach that one there. I am, I'm very thankful that the council is considering this. I do have a different perspective than the mayor, and we've worked together there, and we'll just respectfully disagree on whether and how it should be endorsed. So I do have a prepared statement, if you don't mind. So as the chair of the Economic Development Committee there, I do want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak to it. I'm here tonight to urge you to do more than simply acknowledge or accept the economic report as a reference document. I respectfully ask you to formally adopt, direct, and enact the economic development analysis and supporting plan that's in place before you. I want to begin by saying clearly, at a minimum, I support the council's endorsement of the economic development analysis and supporting plan. Endorsing this work is important, appropriate, and justified. The document is substantive, credible, and grounded in real data. However, I respectfully urge you to recognize that the resolution currently before you stops short of what this moment and this community actually requires. As written, the resolution accepts the analysis and plan as a guiding document, and that language matters. If this plan is accepted only as a guiding document, it risks becoming passive, consulted with convenience, set aside when uncomfortable. A guiding document can inform decisions, but it does not direct them. It can be referenced, but it does not require alignment. It can sit alongside other priorities rather than shaping them. This plan deserves more. The analysis and supporting plan was not produced in isolation, nor was it driven by a single interest or institution. The Economic Development Committee that produced this work was intentionally reorganized to reflect the full fabric of this community. City Council representatives, the Chamber of Commerce, Explore Fairbanks, Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation, nonprofit leadership and small business owners, entrepreneurial innovators, and an independent economic advisor. It ensured that no single sector, political interest, or organizational bias shaped the outcome. Instead, the plan reflects consensus across disciplines, lived experience, and professional expertise, and regional realities, not theory or ideology. Equally important is the magnitude of the research behind it. Over the course of the full year, the committee reviewed and synthesized an extensive body of public source information to include Census and American Community Survey data, State of Alaska labor and workforce statistics, Fairbanks North Shore Borough housing and population data, military impact reports, infrastructure and transportation plans, environmental health data, tourism metrics, and prior regional planning efforts. This is evidence-based work grounded in verifiable data and cross-reference sources, not assumptions or anecdotes. The report also makes something else very clear. Growth is already happening. This analysis confirms something we can no longer afford to ignore. The greater North Pole community has become one of the fastest growing and most strategically important areas in the interior of Alaska. More than 27,000 residents, over 10,500 housing units, and more than 2,160 licensed businesses now rely on the decisions made here for their economic stability and future opportunity. The question before you is not whether to guide it, but whether to lead it. This plan does not call for a reckless expansion. It calls for measured, data-driven, tracking housing shortages, aligning infrastructure investment, supporting small businesses, coordinating with military growth, expanding utilities, and strengthening quality of life. It provides benchmarks, timelines, and accountability. It gives this council tools, not constraints. I fully acknowledge the resolution correctly states the City Council's legal authority extends only within the incorporated boundaries of the City of North Pole. That is not in dispute. But your leadership is not confined to this jurisdictional lines. The city's influence extends far beyond its boundaries. Your actions shape how this plan is perceived and embraced by the Fairbanks North Shore Borough, state agencies, military partners, businesses, nonprofits, and the surrounding communities, and that function as a economic system. The language which would operationalize the analysis and plan was included in the committee's original submission in the form of a draft adoption resolution. Unfortunately, that language was not incorporated into the current resolution. There is a critical difference between accepting the plan as a guiding document and adopting it as an operational framework. A guiding document can be referenced or ignored. An enacted plan directs staff, aligns budgets, informs capital investments, establishes measurable benchmarks, and creates accountability. I'm not asking the council to overstep their authority. I'm asking the council to amend the resolution so that, at a minimum, it does more than acknowledge this work, so that it adopts the plan for use within the city limits and directs city administration to align operations with it. Again, the plan does not ask the city to overreach. It asks the city to lead intentionally, transparently, and responsibly. It provides tools to manage growth, support businesses' plans, infrastructure, advocates for funding, and protect quality of life. It equips you to be proactive instead of reactive. Endorsement alone sends a cautious signal. Adoption and enactment sends a leadership signal. It integrates the plan into municipal operations while advocating for coordinated regional adoption. Most importantly, your decision tonight sends a signal. When the city commits to a data-driven framework, funding opportunities expand. When North Pole acts with clarity, regional partners respond and investment follows. When this council treats the plan as an operational rather than optional, the work becomes meaningful and the broader community responds. So I respectfully urge you to not only endorse the plan, but amend the resolution so it adopts and enacts it as the city's economic development framework. Doing so honors the efforts behind this work and positions the North Pole to lead intentionally in the time of rapid change. Do not let this work sit on the shelf. Adopt it, enact it, lead with it. In doing so, you are not overstepping your bounds. Rather, you are fulfilling your role as a civic anchor of the regional community. So that's my report.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Rixey. I appreciate that. Call for public testimony on this item.
Thank you.
Please just step forth as you see fit. If you're not signed up, please sign up on the sign-in sheet. It doesn't much matter. The first one to the chair gets it. Or the first one to stand up gets it.
So my name is John Poirier. I'm a resident of the city of North Pole. Mayor and city council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm speaking tonight in opposition to adopting Resolution 2026-02 at this meeting. The report issued by the North Pole Economic Development Committee was posted in the January 5th meeting packet and has been available to the public for roughly 15 days. It's a complex document with implications not only for the residents and businesses within the city of North Pole, but also for areas outside the city limits and beyond the direct jurisdiction of this council. Given the scope of the report and the number of stakeholders it affects, I believe the public review period has been too short. While the North Pole Economic Development Committee includes some representation from outside the city, additional outreach is needed to ensure that other affected entities have an opportunity to review and respond. Broader coordination will strengthen the final product and help avoid conflicts with existing regional plans. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the council extend the public review period by at least 30 days before considering adoption. Thank you for your time and your service to our community.
Thank you. Any questions? Please, Councilman Claus.
So I was thinking what you were saying, I tend to agree with that, but I also am wondering if you know that the chamber also can continue its work, which essentially is this, what's reflected in here, whether this is approved or not tonight.
I think I understand your comment. The chamber, the entity called the Chamber of Commerce, the North Pole Chamber of Commerce, can continue to exist and do its thing. This is a report by the North Pole Economic Development Committee.
Right. So not approving it wouldn't affect that anyway, one way or the other.
Right. Yeah. This is between the City Council and the North Pole Economic Development Committee. Right.
Correct. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you for joining us. Further public, thank you. Please. Are you signed up on the sheet there?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Deciding who is going to go next.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you for joining us. State your name and area of residence.
Of course. My name is Tiffany Wyman, and I'm in the Badger area of North Pole. I've written my public comments. I actually am here tonight to express my support for the North Pole Economic Development Committee as it stands, and also talk a little bit about the strategic plan for the greater North Pole area and the committee itself. I just want, as a third generation Alaska, I want to acknowledge that it has been an honor to serve on this committee and to witness firsthand the time, the care, and collaboration that went into the makeup of this committee. Because truthfully, this kind of work is not foreign to me. My family has long been involved in advocating for a healthy and thriving city. As many of you already know this, my grandfather, Con Miller, served as mayor of this city for 18 years. One story I've always loved is he personally delivered the paperwork to Juneau to incorporate this city some time ago. My uncle served in the state legislature as lieutenant governor. He has a park right down the street, the Terry Miller Memorial Park. A building is named after him that houses legislative offices in Juneau, Alaska. My father followed in these footsteps. He served in the state legislature as Senate president. He served in Governor Murkowski's cabinet. And through all of this, I was privileged to have a front row seat. I grew up quite literally in the Capitol building. I went to work with my father every single day. I have sat in more committee meetings than I can count. But it gave me the opportunity to observe leaders who understood that healthy communities, require vision, planning, and a great deal of follow through. And today I am thankful to continue to be a part of North Pole. I'm thankful to be a part of Santa Claus House that my grandparents founded. I'm thankful to be a stakeholder and a board member there. I appreciate Santa Claus House's intentional effort to bring North Pole to the forefront. And I understand firsthand the importance of intentional economic planning and long-term sustainability. We deal with it on a daily basis, and we are looking, what does this look like for the future? Not just for Santa Claus House, but for our community. I'm also honored to serve as the president of SCA, a nonprofit, including Summit Church, World's Biggest Backpack, and Summit Christian Academy. We are not a social services organization, but we are faith-based, we are civically engaged, and we are education-focused. And we are an organization that is deeply invested in the long-term health and opportunities available in this city. And it's true, you and I know this, North Pole has global recognition. It is consistently in the news and in the public eye. We've all been interviewed more times than we can count. And this visibility presents both opportunity and responsibility. But it's true, while good things, and I believe that, while good things are happening, there is still room for growth. You know, I have 5 children. I have a paleontologist with his degree. I have an electrical engineer with a degree. I have 2 theologians with degrees. And they love this community, and they do want to contribute meaningfully to it. But at present, we have honest conversations. North Pole does not yet offer the breadth of housing, employment, and educational opportunities necessary to retain this next generation. And I believe that reality should concern all of us. There is clear room for growth across housing, workforce development, education, and community amenities. For those of us with deep and wide roots here, it is not enough to preserve what North Pole has been, although we do honor that. We need to intentionally prepare for what is to come. So I do encourage us as a body not to let technicalities or procedural paralysis get in our way. I do believe this is a time for movement, for leadership that takes thoughtful, intentional action on behalf of the people that we all serve. And finally, one of the many things my father instilled in me was the importance of statesmanship. And he taught me that statesmanship means governing with future generations in mind. He taught me that it means making decisions that are hard and decisions that outlast terms and titles. He taught me by example. I watched him day in and day out, that statesmanship means we do not serve ourselves, but we serve both those who are here now and those who are yet to come. And so I do believe that the committee has done good work. I believe that the plan does reflect intentionality, collaboration, and forward thinking. I do believe it provides a framework for evidence-based decision-making and responsible growth. I also agree that it's not the final step, but it is a necessary and a vital one in the process in which we are in. So with that, I respectfully encourage this council to consider the North Pole Economic Development Plan, to keep it at the forefront of conversation, to keep it at the forefront of public testimony, to keep it at the forefront of healthy conversation. I also encourage the council to sustain the continuation of the committee. I think good work is being done and good work can continue to be done. And I believe that this is a healthy and vital step to the continued growth, future, and unity of North Pole. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to come and give their testimony?
Hi, Barbara Haney here again. So I serve on the committee, and I would hope that you would continue the committee. I think it's a pretty good work product, but it could use some refinement. And I would hope that you would really consider Mr. Poyer's comments and give it a couple weeks to at least get some more comment feedback. Like I said, I've been very happy with the product. There are some areas where there's some discussion where I didn't have deep expertise, as did anybody else really on the committee. Like, for example, it talks about the Arctic versus the subarctic stuff. And for me, that normally is not a big deal. But apparently in the agricultural community and some of the grant writing, that is a big deal. So I think it's important to get that feedback from that community. And there's a couple other areas where, you know, some of us looking at it may not think, oh, it's not a big deal. somebody else will come up to you and say, hey, whoa, wait a minute, this is, this could jeopardize this or that grant or another. And I don't think it is going to make a hill of beans one way or another to wait until, like, say, Valentine's Day, or, give it till February, whatever, some date like 11th, 10th, 12th, or something like that, to get public comment and let people submit comment and testimony. I don't know if they need testimony here, but at least comments so it can be revised and some of the concerns be addressed. Particularly in the agricultural community is where I personally got a lot of feedback, and I think that's why John's here tonight, because with his work with the Grange, that's important. It wasn't any kind of effort on anybody's part to nuke anything. It was just clearly an oversight, if you will, on the difference between on grant funding with subarctic and Arctic and blah, 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 that kind of thing. And there's a few other areas too where it may matter a little bit. I don't have the deep and wide roots in here in North Pole. I'm first generation. I came here not because I was born here. I chose here. The military didn't make me come here. I chose here. My kids are here. My grandkids are here. I have great grandkids here. So I guess it gives me 4 generations. But I'm not going to sit here and kind of bark on that tree as a basis for anything. I think what's important is that we give the community some opportunity to have some say and input, so it's truly a people's document and not just simply a document by some well-meaning folks with different backgrounds. I think it's one thing to have stakeholders weigh in, but I think there's something to be said for the regular shopkeeper who all of a sudden is like, wait a minute, what's up with this? Or something like that. The other thing that I've continued to be uncomfortable with, and this is perhaps my quirkiness from having some kind of background in public policy, is you guys are the city chamber, the city council, and this document does deal a lot with some regional issues. And what I had sort of hoped for was a separate document, like kind of a pull-out section that dealt specifically with the city so that you would know exactly what you're voting on without it being, I don't want to say polluted, but without all the other, without having to tease out the regional stuff, if you get my meaning. I think there's something to be said for having that consolidated document. And I don't think it would be very difficult to pull out, although I'm sure right now my good friend Howard Rixey is probably not very happy with me about that comment. But I think it's something that can be done. And I don't think waiting a month is going to irreparably damage the economic development of the city of North Pole or the region as a whole. And I would rather get it right than have it not quite right. And then you have people grousing about it for the next 9 months. Let's just get it right the first time. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Haney? Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else like to sign up or testify?
I am signed up.
Wonderful. Please state your name and area of residence.
Thank you, Jeff Putnam. I'm from the Badger rural area. I don't have any prepared comments, so I'll do my best. Let's see, I've lived in the North Pole area for about 30 years after coming here and becoming an Air Force veteran. I'm the vice president of Design Alaska, an engineering and architecture company in Fairbanks. I'm also chairman of the board currently of the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation. So I came here to make 2 points. One was I wanted to embarrass Zach Denny. I got this out of order because I'm not familiar with the public comment period. I've known Zach for 6 years. Thank you for setting aside time to recognize a student of the month. Zach is the real deal. And he's the best of the best. Wherever he goes, he's going to represent North Pole well. And then as the chairman of the board for the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation, I just wanted to make sure that you saw our presence here to make sure that you know that we're interested in economic development in North Pole. I talked to Jomo Stewart on my way out here. He was in the middle of making a pot of stew and got the dates confused because of the holiday yesterday. So he regrets that he could not be here with me. But FedCo is very interested in continuing to work with the city of North Pole in economic development. We hold positions on our board for the city of North Pole. We're creating a new Ardor committee that will help make sure that FEDC is focused on Ardor issues. And that brings an even greater responsibility to make sure that we're representing, all members within the borough. I don't have any specific comments to the pro or to the con about the specific plan tonight, other than just to make sure that that we're interested in continuing to work together. And we are certainly advocates of economic planning, and FEDC now takes over responsibility to complete the SEDS, and we'll start doing that soon. And thank you for giving me a few minutes.
Thank you for being here and joining us this evening. Nice to see you. Any questions? Thanks. Any further testimony on this item? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up online?
No, we do not.
All right, with that, we'll close public testimony. Moves us on to council comments. Any council members wish to discuss? Please, Councilman Claus.
Thank you. I can appreciate what Mr. Poirier and Dr. Haney were saying, and also what Mr. Putnam was saying about perhaps my impression of what they were saying is perhaps it should be, this particular resolution should be pulled, revised, and reintroduced at some point in the near future after some public comment and some issues with the way it was presented, despite all the very hard work and brilliant applications in here. I personally like to see it more tailored towards city of North Pole, not the North Pole general area. Not that the North Pole general area is a bad thing, but we have a Chamber of Commerce for the greater North Pole Chamber of Commerce. So I personally would like to see it either pulled or postponed again. And I'm not so sure about the amendment part of it that was discussed earlier, or the operational framework bias that a lot of people are talking about here. I think I would like to see it North Pole centric for sure. And I don't know if other council members have differing views or what. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Claus. Other council members? Please, Councilman Brandt.
I do want to thank the committee for, I know they put a lot of hard work into this, and it is very thorough. Having said that, there is not a whole lot in here for the city of North Pole. It's mostly greater North Pole area, and that is outside of our purview. We don't have any authority whatsoever outside of the city limits of North Pole. I think this would be a great document to take to Cullen at community planning for the borough. They could do a lot with this document, but I can't, in good conscience, vote yes on this when I don't believe we have the authorities outside of our city limits that this is asking us to approve.
Thank you. Further comment? Please, Ms. Rolfe, Councilwoman Rolfe.
I'd agree with Councilman Claus and Brandt on this. I agree that there needs to be more public comment, period, more time to hear from the public. I think you're the one who stated at the beginning that no public input was taken in the creation of this. And I think that's huge because it affects more than just the city of North Pole. And then I agree that I'd like to see more focus to just the city of North Pole, which is where our focus really should be. I don't necessarily disagree that there should be thoughts on what's happening to the greater area and how economics will affect it, especially economics within the city. But I think at this time, passing this is an overstep without taking into account the other communities, or at least talking to the other communities that this is going to.
Thank you. Please, Councilman Schuster.
And I would agree with that. I would just follow it with, I would like to see it come back. I wouldn't want it to die or anything like that. I would want it to see it come back with something more North Pole centric, city of North Pole centric. Yeah, that's what I have.
Anyone else? I'd like to give my 2 cents. I agree with everyone up here that as a committee member, I appreciate the effort and hard work that's gone into this document. It does encompass more than just the city of North Pole, because everything the city of North Pole does affects every single outlying community that we have. Although we don't have authority outside of our limits, we certainly can think about those communities outside of our city limits who are affected by every single decision that this council makes and really has made since the dawn of our city in 1953. I believe that has been forgotten in the past. And it's unfortunate. History is important. Moving forward is important. So thank you for bringing that up during public testimony. The reason that I wrote the resolution the way I did, it doesn't force the city into adopting this as a document to say this is the law and this is how we move forward. It is a guiding principle that says while we plan for our city, we think about those communities that are affected by every single decision we make, whether it be future businesses, whether it be the farmers. Thank you for bringing that up, which aren't necessarily included in this plan. And with Eielson Farm Road being part of the inclusion in this plan, there's areas that are imperfect. I will say that, but together in its entirety, it, in my opinion, does make a lot of sense to adopt, accept, and use in the future planning of our city, knowing that not everything in this document has to be followed by the letter it suggested, but knowing that those committee members who have discussed to no avail with their friends, other committees, other committee members, gotten ideas, gotten thoughts, brought them back to the committee, helped design and formulate this analysis. I will be voting to move forward with the resolution this evening to allow the city of North Pole to adopt this resolution as a guiding document. Thank you. Please, Councilman Schuster.
I agree with what you're saying as well. Is there a way we could at least postpone to get more public testimony?
Yes, Councilman Schuster, I think we could postpone to get public testimony. But at question, who is in charge of the public testimony? How does that get disseminated? Who's going to spend the expense to get that public testimony? When public comment is reached on other plans throughout the borough, they send out cards, they do social media activities. We don't have a social media activity for the North Pole Economic Development. The chamber certainly does and moves forward with. How does that public testimony get disseminated from the areas outside of the city that we really have, like Councilman Brandt, zero control over? Zero ways to instill that this plan gets adopted by their community. I think as the city of North Pole, we have to move forward in a manner that makes sense while thinking about the communities that are affected. Sorry, I rambled on. Does that answer your question, sir?
Sort of. I mean, yeah, I was more so looking that we would be doing our due diligence on our end and this is a published agenda with, this in it, and it provides another 2 weeks for people who do read our agenda to make comment on it.
Councilman Claus.
Thanks, Mayor. Getting back to something I brought up before about the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce. A lot of these things that are in this great report that was a lot of time was spent on it, due diligence, all the rest of it, a lot of time and energy and expertise. Part of what this resolution addresses is what the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce is set up to do for the greater area, for this North Pole Community Economic Development and the sporting plan. I would like to see some of that delineated. What is the Chamber of Commerce doing versus what is this particular community economic development entity doing? And is a lot of that stuff overlapping? Where is some of the funding coming from? Is it going to be North Pole centric, or is it going to be the community, as in the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce? Is it going to be that community, or is it going to be the greater North Pole Community Economic Development? The chamber is supposed to help with tourism and economic development. So I'd like to see some delineation personally, and I would like to see it more concentrated here. So going back to what I had requested before, is this either be postponed or tabled or revised and reintroduced if possible. Thank you.
Please, Councilman Williams.
So what we're saying is, we're gonna put it off for another, what, 15, 30 days? So individuals can give us the information. That's what I'm hearing from everybody, right?
If you want to speak into the mic of that.
Right? We're gonna put it off for another 15 or 30 days. People can give their input to us. Yes?
I think all we can.
Councilman Schuster, please.
Oh, sorry. I think all we can do at this meeting is put it off until the next meeting is all we're allowed to do, not 30 days, but.
I'm sorry. No comments from the, thank you. Further council discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on whether or not to adopt Resolution 2025-02, a resolution accepting the analysis of the Greater North Pole Community Economic Development and a supporting plan.
Mr. Brandt?
No.
Ms. Rolfe?
No.
Mr. Schuster?
No.
Mr. Claus?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Nope.
Mayor Church?
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
And that failed 1-5.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us on to item 11B, the retention of law firm postponed from January 5th, 2026 regular council meeting. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to introduce the discussion of the retention of law firm.
I'll second that.
So moved and seconded. We're asking for a staff report. Would council or clerk like to give a staff report on this? Okay, seeing no staff report, that brings us on to call for public testimony. Would anybody like to speak to this item? Please.
Can I ask a clarifying question before I agree to give public testimony?
You certainly can.
Is this in regards to keeping the law firm or choosing your law firm, or is this specific to the lawsuit?
This is in relation to retaining the current law firm that we have, Landy, Bennett, and Bloomstein.
For all normal matters?
For all City of North Pole matters, yes.
Copy, thank you.
So you would not like to testify this evening? Okay, yeah, no problem at all. Okay, seeing no public testimony desired, do we have anyone online?
We have nobody online.
That brings us to council discussion.
And I didn't get a second, or did I miss it? Was there a second?
Seconded it.
Who did?
Benny?
Thank you.
Council discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will take the mic on this. I'd like to thank Landy Bennett and Bloomstein for doing a wonderful job representing the city of North Pole in all items. It is inherently difficult when you get into a municipality that has a billion moving parts and to decide how to move forward in the most appropriate way without knowing all of the players involved and all of the dynamics of small city government is inherently problematic. I would hate to see all the lawyers who work in the state capitol building and how they move forward to represent the state capitol and the folks that handle that entity. I imagine that for every 7 people, there's 1 attorney. But there's a lot of inherent problems, and I just want to thank them for all of the solid sound advice that they have provided us over their time here since they were hired, I believe, in June and started in July. Any further council discussion? Okay, with that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on retention of law firm.
Clarification.
Yes,
Please, Councilman Brandt.
What would a yes vote be and what would a no vote be?
that was going to be my question. The motion I have is introduce discussion of retention of law firm.
So
That's unclear to me about.
so a yes would be to retain them, a no would be to release them then?
Does that sound right to council?
I think that's agreeable. Yes to retain, no to release.
Okay.
Is anyone in opposition of that?
Clarified with a different motion to make it more clear.
Please. I mean, we already have a motion on the table. Who made the original motion? Would you like to amend your original motion and then it would require an approval of the second?
I'd be happy to amend, Mayor. I move to release the law firm from service to the city.
I'll second that.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Do we have a staff report on this item? As so moved. Do we have public testimony on this item? Any council discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to release the current law firm from service,
You're saying to release them now, so that means a yes is to release them?
that's a yes would mean to release the law firm. A no would be to keep the law firm. Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
No. Would anyone like to change their vote?
And that passed 5-1.
Okay. With that, I would like to suspend the rules for 5 minutes for a restroom break so we can get up and walk around. Can we do that by unanimous consent?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. 5-minute break. We will resume at 8:25.
Yeah.
Oh.
I got finding those comments in writing in advance. Yeah, me too. I thought that was the agenda item, that's why I waited. I should have been more clear, but it is what it is, so.
Yeah, but yeah, I have them printed. I'll distribute them to the council. Yeah, I didn't want to be like.
Well, I wish you could, but I thought it, because it says retention of law, so I thought that that's what it was referring to. And I didn't want to get in trouble for speaking in the beginning if there's an agenda item, so the learning process. So that's okay, they're in writing and they're there. Yeah. They.
I have a quick question.
Talk to.
But it says something.
Yeah, as far as I know, the information I got was that I guess to
Can it change traffic patterns?
considerably, yeah.
Yeah, that would be something to consider.
You should talk at public testimony.
I was just curious if something had been done.
I don't see the memo in here. Hold on. Here we go.
I'll bring it up as well, because
I just wanted you to see.
I have a feeling it's gonna impact polling and all that stuff that happens here as well.
It's gonna affect a lot, yeah, I don't. I could have sworn I saw somewhere that they said that they'd spoke to a community planner. But maybe that was during the staff meeting.
Yeah, and I didn't notice it in that either.
Yeah, I don't see it in here.
Okay. Just want to bring it up.
Tim, do you have a home charger?
Yeah.
Is it just like, did you have to have one installed or is it just 120 like?
Both.
The 120 is probably just slow.
Yeah, real slow.
But if you do it every night, you don't need a full charge necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Or cost difference, like on your GVA bill, if you use the 120. One. Good. Yeah. 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 We're not going to electric police cars, are we?
I think that was a resounding no.
Tesla cop cars. Yeah. Yeah.
Amend time of service. Okay.
They're getting some on the parts too, right? Glen Allen and
Yeah.
Ely maybe has one now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's TV, there.
What is that? what is that fast charge? How long does that take in Healy? 15 minutes?
I haven't.
I've rented a Tesla and I drove it to a town about an hour and a half away that
Yeah.
said they had a charger. But I didn't know the difference between a destination charger and a regular charger. A destination charger is like a 110. Yeah. Yeah. This was like 4 years ago when it was all. Oh, tell you what, that was that my ride back to Vegas. I was trying to drive behind semi trucks to get the little draft, and it was
Amend time of service. You said it in there.
Yeah.
Amend time of service. What is it? This,
Yeah.
amending
Yeah.
term of service.
Yeah.
Oh,
26.
all that was is.
It's
the,
an expensive mistake if you don't make it,
Yeah.
especially on the parks. Yeah. You know, like
When the mobile chargers.
Section 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Basically, all it is there was a typo in the
Okay.
the
Madam Clerk, are we back on the record?
for 3 years, or
Uh-huh.
1 year when they actually served for 3 years. So
Okay, you need.
We are.
All right. Thank you. That brings us on to action item 11C. Can I get a motion, please, to introduce or adopt?
Move to introduce request to council to accept Fairbanks Emergency Communications Center, FECC, which is postponed from January 5th, 2026 at the regular council meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, moved and seconded. That brings us to a staff report. Who would like to give it the staff report on this? Chief Heineken or Chief Smith, would you be willing? Sorry, should have moved the mic in the break. Apologize.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of discussion during meeting of the whole, so I'll try to be brief. We've used the Fairbanks Emergency Communications Center for dispatching for the fire department and the police department for 20 some odd years now. So right now we're in the process of renewing contract with them to get us through the end of June of this year. As we spoke, this originally started as a renewal of the 2021, and now there is a proposed new contract in general that'll take that through there. And I'll let discussion go from there if you have more questions or comments.
All right, thank you, Chief. That brings us on to call for public testimony. Do we have anybody who wishes to testify publicly on this contract postponed from January 5th? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up online?
We do not.
All right, that brings us on to council discussion. Any discussion from council? Okay, I'd like to move to postpone this, citing North Pole Home Charter Code 12-1, which requires all contracts to be approved by our city attorney. And since in our last action item, we removed our city attorney, that seems to be fairly problematic, and would like to postpone this until the city is able to acquire new representation to approve this contract. And that fails for lack of a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay. Oh, please, Councilwoman Rolfe.
Sorry, I have a clarifying question, I guess. I believe the current one in front of us is the one that was in our meeting packets. And if we want to adopt the new one, we need to move that before us.
For that to happen, a substitution, because we have the extension, that would have to actually be new business, I believe. What was postponed from our last meeting was the extension, and the reason for the extension and postponement to this meeting was that council didn't have the original contract to pair with the extension. That contract paired with the extension is in our packet. A substitution has been presented, but not vetted as new business. So, Madam Clerk, would you be able to make a ruling on this? Since normally I would call our city attorney or request information from our city attorney, but we're in lack of one.
As past practice, have we been able to substitute contracts or agenda items?
Agenda items, yes, but contracts per our city code require the city attorney to review that before it's presented and accepted by the council.
So there's two different questions. One, if we can substitute this other contract, and two, if it needs to go to the attorney.
Under the heading of postponement, yes, from our council meeting.
Well, in postponing, we can only postpone until the next regular meeting or postpone indefinitely.
Correct. Yep. Councilman Brandt.
I move to accept the substitute contract.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, I would just like to say that I believe that we're against city code in this, and not just city code of ordinance, but our actual charter that requires our city attorney to review all contracts that we get into pursuant to 12.1. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to accept the substituted contract for the Fairbanks Emergency Communications Center. Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe?
Yes.
Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mayor Turch?
No. Would anyone like to change their vote?
And that passed 5-1.
Okay, thank you. That brings us on to action item 11D. The North Pole Economic Development Committee membership, which was also carried over from our January 5th, 2026 regular council meeting. Can I get a motion, please, to introduce?
Move to introduce North Pole Economic Development Committee membership carried over from the January 5th, 2026, the regular council meeting.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Staff report. I guess I will take that. So in putting forth names for the North Pole Economic Development Committee and making phone calls, I was asked by a few committee members, what is the goal of the North Pole Economic Development Committee for 2026? Now that they have provided, or I suppose now that they have provided a document which unfortunately didn't pass earlier today, but that document was provided. What is the path moving forward for the North Pole Economic Development Committee? And I thought about that a lot. I thought about it long and hard. While I appreciate the group that was put together for the North Pole Economic Development Committee, I think having a more North Pole centric focus was in line. And I thought about the Santa Claus House of all things. In North Pole, we are a kind of a one-horse town. We have a few really wonderful things out here in North Pole. The Santa Claus House draws people in. We have wonderful food at our restaurants. We have great churches and we have great people. But what else drives people to the city of North Pole? What other events happen in the city of North Pole that drive economic development in North Pole? And that was my focus in the names that I put forth for the updated North Pole Economic Development Committee. With that, I would like the updated committee to focus on trails, plans, I think about, as a realtor, our walking score. You look on Zillow and you look at walking scores for every city in Fairbanks, and North Pole has a terrible record. We don't have good trails. We don't have good sidewalks. We don't have ways for people to move. We have trails that are out there existing but aren't connected to what should be the other end of the trail. We don't have an economic draw to the city of North Pole, other than what I've already mentioned. We need that for North Pole to succeed. So the group that I put together, I'm going to ask them to focus on expansion of what we already have, how to combine that and make that better so that we have another draw to the city of North Pole, whether it be an additional event in the city to bring people in, whether it be something that gets put forth to attract more people into the city from the way of lights, tourism, and other attractions that we may have. I just got back from vacation, and walking around Bourbon Street and Canal Street in New Orleans, they have signs all over the place that tell you where to go, what to look at, where the museum is, where the restaurants are, where the cemeteries are, because that's apparently a very popular thing there. We don't have any of that here in North Pole, and it's unfortunate. So I believe that the group that I put together for North Pole Economic Development Committee is capable of making that happen for the city of North Pole. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up for public testimony, or is there anybody who would like to give public testimony in the room?
We have no one online.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Howard.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to offer an update. You have me down there for representing the chamber, and I greatly appreciate that opportunity there. But pursuant to our recent board meeting there, I'd like to substitute my name with Michael Garza, local realtor and a board member of the North Pole Chamber.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
I will. Yes. Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Okay, that brings us to, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Haney. Sorry, Dr. Haney, please step forth.
So I think I'm on the list of people that is on there, and I hope to continue that work. I guess, and I'm happy to work on trails and connecting and working on property values. I think that's important too. I want to, though, kind of point out that there's some other industries in North Pole that, quite frankly, may not be on your radar so much. There's a tremendous beauty industry in this town, and say what you will, there's money there. Okay, I mean, you've got, for a town this size to have as many eyelash, nail, and hair salons as it has. I mean, okay, truth. I don't see that many in Fairbanks. I mean, this area has got a reputation for beauty. And I think it's important to recognize, while there are a lot of things like trails, there's also a very big beauty industry in this town. And there's some other areas where that could probably be enhanced. I know there's a beauty school. Did you know there was a beauty school? Did you know? There's two.
There's actually two. Yes, I did.
Okay, but a lot of people don't realize that. And so, I mean, like, that there's a lot of things that are not very well known. And I think it's important maybe to promote those things. You're stationed at the Army base or the Air Force base, and you're a wife, and I can't get my eyeballs threaded anymore. Yeah, you can. It's right down here. But they're not always aware of those kind of things. So I think part of it is appreciating the industries we do have. but I think also marketing those industries on the military bases and in the community is also very helpful. So anyway, look forward, hopefully, if you will have me, to serving again on the committee. Keep my comments.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much. That brings us to council discussion. Please, Councilman Brandt.
To say that North Pole is a one-horse town, that's a disservice to all the great businesses that we have throughout this town, hundreds of really great businesses, just as Ms. Haney was attesting to there. I rarely ever go to Fairbanks anymore. Everything I need is right here in town. You know, we have a veterinary, we have dentists and you know, beauty schools, and we've got everything here. So to say it's a one-horse town, I do not agree with that. And as far as the walkability in this town, as everybody knows, I walk everywhere I go in North Pole, and we have the best maintained sidewalks anywhere. Our public works does a fantastic job keeping the snow off the sidewalks. That's not something that happens in Fairbanks. We do have a couple nice trails in this town, and then we have some very close by. So I just wanted to say that I don't agree with the comment that this is a one-horse town. That was I think disparaging to all the other businesses outside of the Santa Claus house.
All right. Thank you for that. Any further comment? Yeah, please. Councilwoman Rolfe.
So I just had some concerns about the makeup of the committee, and my questions just came from just a lack of understanding of how the committee is established, what established the committee to start with, and what the makeup of the committee is supposed to look like. On the sheet that's in our packets, it says that it consists of the mayor and 1 to 2 council or community members. We have many more than that on our list here. And then Mr. Rixey had sent out something to council as to what the committee itself had come up with as to what the makeup of the committee should look like. But my understanding from communications with the clerk is that was never formally adopted by city council. So I understand why that makeup doesn't match this makeup, but I don't necessarily understand where the wording comes from on here that the committee is supposed to be 1 to 2 council or community.
I can't honestly answer that. Why that was decided the way it is. I honestly don't know what started the North Pole Economic Development Committee and why that was started the way it is. And you are 100% correct that the makeup of the committee from last year wasn't approved by council. It got moved forward by Councilman Jacobson resigning as chair of that committee, asking Mr. Rixey to take over, and Mr. Rixey did just that. As far as what is presented to you this evening, I would like to make an amendment to the makeup of the North Pole Economic Development Committee to remove Mr. Rixey as desired and add Mr. Michael Garza in there with future information to come. Any further discussion on that? Please, Councilman Brandt.
I have no idea if Mr. Garza has been consulted and agreed to this. So I was shaking his head, so I guess that's a yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will give him a call tomorrow and thank him for volunteering to fill that position. Any further council discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the approval of the North Pole Economic Development Committee.
We have to approve the amendment first.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the substitution of Howard Rixey for Mike Garza
just so we're clear, the motion is to remove Rixey and insert Garza, but the rest of the committee is made up of Mayor Turch, Anton Keller, Bryce Ward, Barbara Haney, Jeff Jacobson, and Hank Bartos.
We're voting on the
Yep, but on the amendment,
substitution.
on the amendment to remove Howard Rixey and substitute Michael Garza. Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mayor Turch.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Any further discussion on this, please? Councilman Brandt.
It says here consists of the mayor, 1 to 2 council or community members. There are no council members on here. Mr. Keller is no longer a council member. Is that an issue with anybody?
It does say 1 to 2 council or committee members. And as we stated in the last meeting, I wasn't present, but I did listen to it, that all council members can be present and voting members of any committee put forth by the city of North Pole. They just can't be used in the manner of forming a quorum for that committee. Does that answer your question, Councilman Brandt? Or
I
speak to your
understand that. I was
question?
just asking
Okay.
if anybody else wanted to speak on that or not. I don't really care one way or the other. It's just going by what this says.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
And the approval of the North Pole Economic Development Committee consisting of Mayor Turch, Michael Garza, Anton Keller, Bryce Ward, Barbara Haney, Jeff Jacobson, and Hank Bartos. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mayor Turch.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed 6-0.
All right. Thank you very much. That moves us on to new business. Very exciting. Action item 12A, ordinance 2026-01, amending term of service. Can I get a motion to introduce, please?
I move to introduce ordinance 2026-01, amending term of service.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded. Staff report. Councilwoman Rolfe, would you like to give a staff report on this?
Yeah, I can
And
give a staff report on it.
Thank you for making this happen.
Yeah, so this was brought forward by myself and Councilmember Brandt as it seems to be an error in the way that the code was introduced or put into order when it first came as it was set up. This appears that it was supposed to be staggered term limits so that the council or the committee wasn't trying to be completely reorganized with all 5 members every year. So this will correct that, making that term of office that they're appointing to a 3-year term. So it'll stagger having to refill the committee.
Thank you for that. Call for public testimony. Do we have anybody signed up to testify on this? Seeing none. That brings us to council discussion. I would just like to thank Councilwoman Rolfe and Councilmember Brandt for bringing this forward. When I put together those committees, I looked at this and also saw the error. So I appreciate you bringing this forward. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On ordinance 2026-01, amending terms of service. Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mayor Turch.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed 6-0.
Thank you. So that moves forth to our next meeting. That brings us on to 12B, Resolution 2026-03, transfer of funds to Amlet. Can I get a motion, please, to introduce?
I'd like to introduce Resolution 2026-3, the transfer of funds to AMLIP.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Staff report, Mayor Pro Tem Brandt, since this was sponsored by you, would you mind giving a quick staff report since you spoke with the CFO about it?
Yeah, this is pretty simple, just like the last time that we transferred money into the Alaska Municipal League investment pool. We get considerably more interest there than we do in our Mount McKinley Bank account. Currently, we have over $3 million in our Mount McKinley bank account. Speaking with our CFO, she recommended moving $1 million into the AMLIP. And I concur. I had originally wanted to move more. She would be more comfortable with only moving $1 million. I'll say that as of right now, McKinley Bank has not upped the interest rate that was brought up a couple of months ago that they were going to do. We looked into that and they have not done that yet. So currently, if we move this money into AMLIP, we'll make about $25,000 a year more in interest than leaving it in the McKinley Bank account.
All right, thank you for that staff report. Call for public testimony. Do we have anybody signed up or anyone in the room who would like to testify on this?
We have nobody signed up online.
Okay, that brings us to council discussion. All right, I would just like to say something. I appreciate Mount McKinley Bank being here and all that Mount McKinley Bank does for our community. As Councilman Brandt said, the differential between what we earn at AMLET and what we earn at Mount McKinley, there's a huge differential there. And it is unfortunate. I do appreciate the fact that they do invest, I believe, more than $11 million into our community, which helps our city, our state, our area grow through that. But in this case, they are nowhere near comparative when it comes to interest rate. And it's unfortunate. I appreciate Mount McKinley Bank for all that they do, but competition is there. So any further discussion from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to approve Resolution 2026-03, transfer of funds to AMLIP, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed 6-0.
Thank you very much. That brings us on to item 12C, request to council for our auditing service. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve the request to council for the LG Renfield audit services.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded. Do we have a staff report, or would anybody like to give a staff report on this? This is the same CPA firm that we used and have used for the last 2 years. This is moving that forward another year and allowing us to continue our services, our audit services with agreed CPA firm. Any public testimony? Is there anybody signed up for this?
There's nobody signed up online.
Okay, brings us to council discussion. Okay, seeing none. I'm sorry, Councilman Claus.
Mayor, I was just going to say that I remember overhearing CFO mention in public that she enjoyed working with that particular firm and got along really well with them. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilman Claus. I appreciate that. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to accept the request to council.
The motion to approve the request to council, LG Renford Audit Services, Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed 6-0.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us on to 12D, request to council for the Police Department K-9 Unit Program. Can we get a motion to accept the request to council?
I'd like to request the council for the police department K-9 unit program.
Let a move to accept.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll second that. Brings us to staff report. Chief Smith.
Yeah, so I tried to introduce this last meeting and give you somewhat of a heads up, but it's a project we're working on and working towards. I'm bringing it to you primarily because most of the projects similar to this nationwide are very community oriented and community. They generate a lot of community support. And so for that reason, I really need all of you behind the police department in this effort. I've already worked through most of the details associated with getting this project up and running, talking to our insurance, getting a policy drafted, and also discussing the project with several businesses and other folks in the community just to get a general idea or sense of whether it's supported or not. And I've had very, very strong support from some local businesses and even businesses in Fairbanks. So my intent would be, if all of you are supportive of the concept of the program, I'm not requesting funding or anything additional to my current budget, that I would then create a landing page on the police department website with a way for community members to get involved with donations, and then start voicing this out to the community and see where we get to by May timeframe is kind of what we're looking at, to potentially source an animal and get the project rolling. So I bring that to you, hoping for your support for the concept of the project. I'll take any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
How much funding do you think is needed from the community to do this?
So the dog and the associated training is going to be about $26,000. The vehicle is about a $6,000 increase because the cage for housing a canine in the back seat is a little bit more expensive than a regular prisoner cage. Beyond that, it would just be the vehicle we planned on buying this year anyway. There'd be some small, costs associated with collars, these types of things. One of the people I spoke to is interested in sponsoring food, or a big part of the food. That's another expense of X number of bags of dog food a year. There's the, periodical health checkups for the animal. Already spoke to a local veterinarian in town here, and they're very supportive of that aspect of it. And then also some training time for the dog and for the handler. So all of that easily absorbed in my existing budget, but I would just be putting some of those numbers out, just as, hey, community member, if you want to help with this aspect of the project, go for it, or this aspect or this aspect, so people have options.
I'll get to your follow-up in just a second, but I do want to call for public testimony since we just did get out of order. Do we have anybody signed up for that? Okay.
We have nobody online.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Go ahead, Councilman Schuster.
Yeah, just
With the follow-up.
Would you, do you already have an officer that's interested in taking this on?
Yeah, Sergeant Burgandy already has an animal that he owns that he has extensively trained. We're not going to use that animal, but he has a lot of experience in that and he's very passionate about it. So he's been my right-hand man in doing some of the research and legwork and helping draft the policy and these types of things.
Thanks.
Councilman Brandt.
Yes, sir.
Will there be more than one officer trained with this dog to cover, vacations or if the officer left North Pole?
There will only be the one handler for various technical reasons. Yeah.
The other thing that we had talked a couple of times about is a concern that I have that you brought up, that the dog would be used at other agencies in the area. And it's just my concern that will draw our officer out of the city limits of North Pole more than normal. And we've talked about that. So if you could address that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. It's a valid concern, right? We want to have balance to the program, understanding it's primarily utilized for the city limits of North Pole, though, like the fire department, we do lots of mutual aid with other agencies. So that's totally at our discretion, long story short. I can set exactly how much of that takes place to make sure there's hard limits on it. I can tell you right now, the need for a canine in the area is there, but it's not something that's like every day, or we're talking about maybe once a month, a couple times a month that they may be going to assist someone outside the city. So it would just need to be a good ongoing conversation with some of those agencies. There also in the past has been talk of, I don't know that it's ever actually happened, but technically you could bill another agency for protracted, let's say they were on scene for 9 hours doing something, right? There's a potential that that could actually be billed, though we try to avoid most of that. I mean, we receive assistance from the Alaska State Troopers constantly all year long, and we're not billed for that, for them sending an officer to help us. So we want to make sure there's balance in that. But yeah, we can definitely have some guardrails on it. Yep.
Follow up, Councilman Brent.
I would say just that's something that we would just need to keep an eye on. And if the other agencies are starting to abuse our graciousness with using our dog, then we would have to have talks with them. But the other question I have is just curious, what kind of hours would the dog be working? Daytime, nighttime, both?
Both. He'd follow the shift the officer is on, and he's a sergeant, so he works pretty much all 3 shifts throughout the year.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so he'd move all over the place.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, I'd like to thank you for bringing this forward as my discussion. I know that it was brought forward a few months ago, and thank you for digging into it deeper and bringing that to our community. And then I also want to thank those agencies who have helped the city of North Pole and the North Pole area out in previous. And I'm glad to see us moving our department forward into taking care of ourselves and taking care of our community in a way that we haven't been able to before. So I appreciate those efforts, and to Sergeant Burgandy as well for volunteering to take that on. I know it's a lot of training, and appreciate that.
And I'll keep you all regularly updated and plan on, if this takes place this summer, you'll be getting a visit from the dog if you want that. Just show you what it's like and give you a little demo, and then also, help me reach out to the community too. Let them know it's going to be an option coming up soon, that they can provide some level of community support. I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Brandt.
All right, just curious about this. If we decide to purchase a dog, and the training and everything, how long of a process is that before the dog is put into service?
Training's 5 weeks. So the officer goes to the agency that sources the dog. In Ohio is the one we're looking at. He does 5 weeks of training. That gets him certified, and then he can come back and be deployable at that point. And the total service life, just so you all know, runs between 5 and 7 years, depending on the animal. Yep.
So more specifically, I was thinking, obviously, we're not going to have a puppy out here. So but I assume that we would be purchasing a puppy, and that puppy would be trained, and then the training for the officer. So from the time that we decide to go forward with this until the time that it's put into service, do you know how long that would be?
If we go forward with this tonight, I would project it being put into service no later than mid-August. So the way it works, to my understanding, is they have breeders in Europe, and then on the state side, they're in close communication. That breeders, the puppy is there. They're doing initial imprinting with narcotics and initial training up to a certain point. So that the dog that's actually brought overseas is not a little tiny dog, but it's not full grown either. The trainer here gets it at a particular point of development where, hey, in a few months it could be deployable, and they kind of finish that, they polish that product to get it ready.
Yeah, I thought that we were buying a puppy, doing the whole training, so it'd be 9 months or 10 months or something like that.
No, it'd be cute, but no.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Rolfe.
So I have a couple questions. First, you talked about the ability to kind of lend out to other agencies. Have we ever needed to, I guess, request the assistance of another agency that has a dog?
Yeah, absolutely. Numerous times, both for narcotic detection and also for apprehending, if a person flees, and then we need to set up a perimeter and do a track for lost individuals in the woods, and then for building clearing, right? You'll send them in there. They can do a quick sniff throughout the building. So in my career, I've probably personally been on, I don't know, 25, 30 plus requests that the city had for a dog for various reasons.
And then you said you're working with somebody in Ohio. Is there a specific breed of dog that they work with that you're looking at sourcing?
Several different kinds, Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherd, and regular German Shepherd. All of them we're trying to find a balance in the temperament because we want a dog that's patrol ready, but also good with community members too, because you have a spectrum of personalities, right? And we don't want one that's going to be just keep it in the box and don't let it out, right? So, Belgian Malinois tend to be much higher maintenance and higher energy. And then as you move towards the Shepherd, it gets a little bit less intense, but still a good dog. So probably a Dutch Shepherd.
And then my last question that I had is, you said you had talked to insurance. Is there a difference in what the coverage or policy would cover, or I guess the cost to the city based on the breed of the dog? Because I know some breeds have had more, I guess, litigation for them than other breeds. So I wasn't sure if that would affect our insurance depending on what breed we got.
Oh, they didn't bring that issue up at all. They actually were very like, this is a great idea. It'll be totally fine. It's not going to cause an issue at all.
For the handler, because this is a service dog, will we be required, or will he be required to have additional insurance on his home or his vehicles because of the animal?
No, he is required by department policy to have certain things in place at his home for the care of the animal. A lot of it, since he already owns a dog, is already there and ready to go. So no, he's not required to have any additional insurance.
Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? Oh, please, Councilwoman Rolfe.
I guess kind of on that, is there any concern about, you said he already has an animal. Are there concerns about issues between him bringing a new animal into the home?
No, we discussed that. It's not an uncommon thing, as most handlers are passionate about dogs and have other dogs. It'd be in a matter of assessing how the two of them get along and then potentially keeping them separate if they need to. So I'm not concerned about it.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to approve the request to Council Police Department K-9 Unit Program, Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed 6-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us on to 12E, request council secure area at police station. Can I get a motion to adopt, please?
I'd like to adopt a request to council to secure the area at the police station.
I'll second that. So moved and seconded. That brings us to a staff report.
Okay, so I did give you a packet that contains some items I think would be useful for you to know. Just for a little history, the desire on my part to do this comes out of real life experience, working as a patrol officer here for 10 plus years, responding to calls out of the garage, and having all kinds of things outside those garage doors when I went to respond to a call. Anything from someone blocking me in with their car to numerous small children on bicycles all over the parking lot as I'm trying to leave the station, lights and sirens, to spray paint all over our patrol cars, to very hostile individuals that didn't like a traffic stop from 3 hours ago and are now at the station, hiding out behind the station to complain and cause an issue. So I mean, it's the principles and the recommendations I have in front of you are well known. They're nationally recognized, common sense type things. Like we should have access control beyond just doors and garage doors. And I want to be very careful because I'm not trying to give people ideas, but I could get on Amazon and purchase a device right now that would allow me to have unfettered access to the police department within a week. Because the garage doors are what they are. So I'm trying, throughout the years, what I would typically do is open the door, stand off to the side, try to get some type of a look outside first, because there's that huge stand of trees back there and I didn't know who was back there, and then leave the station. So it's a concern on my part for the security of our officers, the security of the community members who are expecting us to respond without some horrendous thing happening to one of our officers, preventing them from responding, or heaven forbid we pull out of the garage and there's children in the parking lot and there's some type of a tragedy because our parking lot goes right onto the street. So like the canine program, tonight I'm not requesting funding. You'll notice the recommendations are FEMA recommendations, and I included that both because those are the practical common sense things we should be looking at when we decide for a project like this, but also because when they do grant funding, these are the standards they base their approvals or their disapprovals off of. And so you can see if you read through these that what I'm proposing fits very neatly with some of their very common recommendations for enhancing security. So I'm not requesting funding. If I'm not able to obtain DHS funding for this project, it's not going to get off the ground until that occurs, because it is a significant ask. It's about $40,000 in fencing, and then anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 in land clearing and construction to get that workable. So what I'm requesting from you all is a recognition that there is a problem there, and then approval. Ultimately, the project will 100% close down that section of Snowman Lane, which in discussing with planning is well within your authority to say we're going to shut off that part of the street there. But that's really the go-ahead that I need from you to move forward with the project. I no doubt you have more questions or clarifying questions you need, and I'm happy to answer any of those you might have.
Okay, thank you, Chief Smith. Anyone signed up for public testimony or wish to give public testimony on this item, please step forth. Please state your name and area of residence, and thank you for adding your name to the list there.
Excuse me. My name is Adam Rolfe. I live in the Lake Drive neighborhood. I have several concerns with this. One being changing the traffic flow, impacting the polling station, the comings and goings of everybody. Everything that's mentioned in the memorandum can be fixed by locking your doors, because it says unauthorized entry into the police station, closing garage doors, preventing accidents, things like that. You still have that same kind of concern when you leave the fenced access areas. So either way, police will have to be careful and be looking out and be observant of their surroundings. I feel like this is an extreme waste of money, unnecessary. I mean, even if you get federal money, it's still taxpayer money that's paying for it, coming out of everybody in the city of North Pole and everywhere else. I think it's just unnecessary. My biggest concern would be what it would do to the impact of polling. Would it discourage our already very few voters from coming out, because it's harder, it would be then harder to come in and out of City Hall to come cast their ballot. Some things I'd like you to consider before approving this, at least long term, to get a road study done to see what the effects could possibly be by doing this. While I know it's in your power to do it, it's probably still something that I'd recommend the council do. All I have.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Any further public testimony? Okay, that brings us on to council discussions. Please, Councilman Brandt.
I do agree with what Mr. Rolfe said there about closing off Snowman Lane. I think a road study is in order, and then a lot more public comments on this before we decide to go further. It really will impact access to City Hall. I know that there's two entrances, one by Carrie and one by Kevin, but it's visible by Carrie, and people coming down that way would just come to a dead end there. The other problem that I see with it is there's a sewer line that runs right through there, and that regularly clogs up and freezes. I was last week, as a matter of fact, I think it was Friday. I came here in the morning and Bigfoot was out there for several hours. I came back later that afternoon and they were back again in a different location for several hours. If that is fenced off, that now becomes secured area. We would have to have an officer standing by at 40, 50 below, watching the thaw truck sitting there for hours on end. If there was a call directly across the street, they would not be able to leave. So that is a major concern. Also, we already have very limited parking here due to the several extensions of the police department. So evenings like tonight where we had a full chamber, people have to park on the north side of Snowman Lane there. They don't have a choice. There's nowhere else to park. So those are my major concerns. Also, I'd like to say in your memo, you said that every other local agency has this. There's 7 local agencies that I know of. There's Airport, University, Wainwright, Eielson, Fairbanks, and Troopers. And out of those, only 2 of them, Fairbanks and Troopers, have this fenced-in area. So those are my concerns. I think we should delay this right now until we study the impacts a little bit more.
All right, thank you. Further comment? Chief, oh, please, Councilman Claus.
Just a quick one. Chief, I was looking at the diagram. Is there a way, I'm not sure if it would leave enough room, but you know where Snowman Lane is, rather than go over Snowman Lane, if the fencing or barrier were right along the edge of Snowman Lane on the police department side, would that afford enough mobility within the constraints of the perimeter for police vehicles to move?
No, that's only about 20 to 25 feet wide. So by the time you get out there, your nose is already almost out into what we would call the street. Yeah.
Councilman Brandt.
I'd also like to say that a lot of your other concerns, why you would want this fenced-in area, can be addressed with other means. Better lighting, better security cameras, better signage, things like that. I think we can try that first before we go to this extreme of shutting off, blocking off Snowman Lane.
Further discussion? Okay, I'll take my 2 cents. Chief, you said in your staff report that you had discussed this with the Planning Commission, George and Kellen at the Fairbanks North Star Borough, in related to our citizens' question. What were their feelings about Snowman Lane and the traffic flow? that would transpire if this was to pass.
They didn't offer a traffic study. They, his initial, I asked them numerous different questions because I've explored a lot of different options with vacating the right of way, moving Snowman further, what would it be? East, right where the trees are now, right? So it skirts around the fence, different things. Unfortunately, all of that is incredibly complex to get a simple right of way moved, 30 feet to one side, and also very expensive. So when the question was asked, they could see on the map that I sent them that there's two accesses into the parking lot of City Hall. And so that wasn't a concern to them as far as the questions, the context I was asking, but I didn't ask them to do a deep dive into some type of traffic analysis with that. There's no doubt that our infrastructure here needs to develop and needs to grow. It's problematic that we have such a small parking lot for polling and other things. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm just concerned that the solution is illegally parking on a street, or, as has happened numerous times, literally parking in our lot and blocking officers in the garage. You can have signs and you can tell people, and then they still do things. So I think there's a need for a solution there going forward. Just so you know, most of what I've seen regarding people kind of hanging out back there, they do that because it's such a slow part of the street. Children feel comfortable to ride up the incline towards our garage doors and then use that incline to get some speed to go back down into Santa Claus, and they'll go back and forth behind there. They're not so much doing that out on the other streets. They're playing around behind the police department because it's somewhat sheltered in that respect. So I understand the concerns that are being voiced and I appreciate them. This was, again, born out of many years of observation and trying to think, how can I mitigate this potential issue?
Appreciate that, Chief. And, please, Councilman Schuster.
Just add one question. You guys are occupying I think a city-owned property, I guess north of the police station. Would that stuff be brought then inside the fencing?
Yeah, that was the intent, was to move the Connex box and the trailers so they're now secure in there. And then that property would be up for some other use. Additionally, when we do search warrants on vehicles, right now our only option is to store them inside one of our garages right next to the patrol cars. This would give us the option to at least have them outside while we're waiting for that search warrant to come back.
Councilman Brent.
Would you be willing to explore less drastic options to address your concerns, less drastic than cutting off, blocking off one of our streets in town? Like I said, lighting, cameras, signs, things like that, which are not there presently, I think would go a long ways towards addressing the concerns that you have here rather than, and also just the optics of what that's going to look like for our friendly little city. When they come around there, it's going to look like a prison yard, basically. And this is the most photographed part of North Pole. So that's also a concern. But would you be willing to try some different options before we go down this route?
I would if they hadn't been tried. If you walk back there, you'll see there's signs next to every garage door. We have 3 high definition cameras on the back of the station and enough lighting to light to the opposite side of Snowman, and that didn't stop someone from just walking up to our patrol cars and spray painting them right on camera. So, I mean, those things are in place and being utilized currently.
I will say that happened one time. That cost us next to nothing to clean that up, and to go to this drastic extreme to address that,
Just trying to answer your question.
No, I understand, but from my point of view, Obviously, you know how I feel about this. So I will not be supporting this.
Further discussion? Chief, from my point of view, it sounds like you've about outgrown the space that you've had, and it might be time to look at a new police station moving forward and maybe allow the Public Utilities Department to take over what used to be the police department and try and separate that and give our community true growth. Once we get a new fire department built, the old fire department might be an acceptable option. I know at the police department, we're not used to taking hand-me-downs or seconds, but I think it would be able to provide you the security that you're looking for, since 3 sides of that are already fenced, and it couldn't be next to a happier group of folks over there at the fire department, being able to keep an eye on that and have our services all in the same spot. Just thinking outside the box. I do support this. Don't get me wrong. I think it makes a lot of sense. The traffic flow is there. It makes sense for our city, and I do disagree with Councilman Brandt. Eielson and Wainwright has security at the front door. You have to be badged to even get on base. They know who is there, regardless of whether or not they have security behind their building or behind their garage doors. They know who is on installation. Same with the airport. So I will be in support of this, and thank you for bringing it forth, Chief. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll to accept the request to council for the secure area at the police station.
Right, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
No.
Mr. Brandt,
No.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed 4-2.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us on to 12F, request to council.
Can I, real quick, if I may?
Yep, please.
I will move forward with seeking some type of a study, even though you've given permission to get a better idea. Also, all DHS funding is currently paused for various federal reasons. So this is not something, unless something magical happens in the next 2 months, this is not something I'll be breaking ground on this spring. So we do have some time.
Thank you, Chief. It is the city of North Pole, and magical things happen here absolutely every single day. So I wish you well, sir. That brings us on to 12F, request to council, recommendation for adopting City of North Pole utility standards of construction dated 2025 July. Can I get a motion to accept?
Request to accept a recommendation for adopting the City of North Pole utility standard of construction date, 2020. July.
Second.
So moved and seconded. That brings us on to staff report. Director Glidden.
Hello. So the city of North Pole has utility standards of construction, which is basically a set of standards that we expect contractors to use when they're building utilities that they want us to take over. So if a developer comes in to make a road or a subdivision, put it on either the water or the sewer system through our city utilities, they would have to use these standards to construct the portions that they want us to take over as a utility. The last time it was updated was in 2007. And since then, we've done extensive expansion to our utilities. to include using HDPE pipe, which is a plastic pipe. And that was not in the 07 standards. So we contracted with Stantec to add that to these standards. So now we have an updated version, July 11, 2025, that I would like to have you guys adopt. So it is referenced in the code, but it's referenced by name only, not by date. So we won't have to change code when this is adopted, or if this is adopted. Basically just can we post it on the website and say this is the one you're going to look at now rather than the 07 version. Currently posted on our website and titled proposed with the year on it versus the actual one that's 07. My recommendation is that you adopt this so that we can hold people to these standards. Mayor Turch found a reference on page 9 where they reference a specific section of ADEC standard that was repealed. So my recommendation would be to just go in and delete the section reference and leave the standard reference. So if you don't have it in front of you, it's 18 AAAC 72 section 20, and section 20 is repealed, but 18 AAC 72 is their standard. So if we just remove section 20 basically, then it'll cover us.
Thank you for the staff report. That brings us on to a call for public testimony. Do we have anybody signed up or anybody in the room who would like to give testimony to these new standards?
We have nobody online.
Okay, that brings us on to council discussion. Please, Councilman Schuster.
In theory, this should help developers because HDP pipe is generally cheaper than iron pipe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Please, Councilman Brandt.
Just Mr. Schuster's point, there's only certain parts of the city that would be allowed to use HDPE piping. It wouldn't be allowed to be used in the contaminated areas of the city.
Just to clarify, the code that I found was related to wastewater separations. So they have a bunch of different systems based on well and sewage about how far away from your well when it comes to commercial buildings and standards. If we adopt this evening, and I always try and think of things as a realtor because that's in my brain, it's in my blood. Because we're instilling these new standards, would that require new owners to adopt the new standards if anything then has to change on their property?
No, this has nothing to do with private residencies. This is just about the water mains, which we already have control of. All of the water mains and sewer mains we own now. So it would just be anything that's going to be built in the future.
And have we received any public comment from developers in the greater North Pole City for or against this? And have we had, other than submitting this into our agenda packet, have we had any sort of public comment about instilling these standards for the city of North Pole?
No.
Okay. Further discussion? I would like to make a motion to remove that. Do I need to make a motion to remove that section of code, Tim, or is that a clerical since it was repealed in August of 2025 to remove that from the proposed language?
I would think I could just remove it. It's a dot and 3 numbers.
Council, are we accepting of that, or would you like a roll to be called on that?
What page is that on?
14 or 9, I'm sorry.
9.
Page
Mine
9.
The 2007 agreement?
No, of
it's
the
on-
updated agreement?
It's on page
Madam Clerk, could you just pull that up if you don't mind?
on
and
page 6
put
of
that on the screen?
2007, and it's on page 9.
I couldn't find it on page 9, so.
Page 9 of the 2025. It's the first line of 1.2.8, separation distance. It is, yeah, under departments and then utilities.
It says here, the shall be in accordance with the latest ADEC regulation.
Right, and so that's why if we remove .020, which is the section that was repealed,
Okay.
it would read perfect.
In AAC 7.72.
Right, so what happened was
Page 9.
they took that.
6.
Be on the 07 or 24, 5. It's the proposed standard, 2025.
Oh, no, that is the one you want to be in, is the 2025, the proposed standards. And then page 9 of the new proposed standards.
That's it right there, yeah. So just below your cursor right now. Oh,
In A there, it says horizontal and vertical separation shall be in accordance with the latest ADC regulations, 18 AAC 72.020. That was actually repealed in August. They do have a revision of that based on the separation distance of separate systems. So by removing the .020, that's still applicable state code.
right. Yep. So they didn't change anything. They just moved where it's placed in the code. So instead of having the one separation distance section in their standard, they put it where it fits in their code. So they put it for the septic systems in the septic system area. They put it for the water in the water area, you know? So it's all still there. It's just not in that section anymore. That section doesn't exist. So just referencing the regulation, the 18 AAC 72, I think is enough to get the people where they want to go.
Is that acceptable to council to have that as a clerical change since that was repealed after this document was done, or would you as council like to take a vote on that?
I think it should probably be done as a vote, and I can make the motion.
I'll make the motion to remove and change the ADC regulations in 1.2.8 separation distance to remove 020 from the state ADC regulation code.
Second.
Do we have anybody signed up for public testimony who would like to testify on that? Council discussion on that. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor, I'm going to ask you to repeat your motion because I didn't get it all.
Motion in the proposed construction standard, page 9, section 1.2.8 separation distance, subsection A, to remove 020 from the ADEC regulation in line 1.
Okay, and I have your motion. Who is that seconded by? Okay.
Councilwoman Rolfe.
And Mr. Claus?
By voting?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe?
Yes.
Mayor Church?
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? All right, seeing none. Any further discussion about the utilities construction standards? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On the motion to approve the request to council recommendation for adopting City of North Pole utility standards of construction dated 2025 July, Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That also passed 6-0.
Thank you very much. That brings us on to item 13, council comments excluding the mayor. Where shall we start this evening, Madam Clerk?
Let's start with Mr. Williams.
Nothing to say.
Mr. Schuster,
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mr. Denny for coming in tonight. He sounds like a great student from all accounts. And appreciate him coming in and the recognition. Also to Mr. Officer Dykeman for his 5 years. And then congratulations to Corporal Kerner on his promotion. That's all. Thanks.
Mr. Brandt,
Hadn't really planned on saying anything, but I do want to thank all the department heads over the last couple of weeks. We have an absolutely fantastic staff. Each and every one of our department heads do an excellent job. And if we just let them do their jobs, things go really smooth. Everything went great over the last couple of weeks, and I have you guys to thank for it, so thank you. And I also want to thank the utilities and public works for getting us through that extremely long cold snap. They did a lot of very, very cold work for us that I don't envy at all, and they did a great job. And so please let Cody and Paul know that we appreciate everything that them and their teams did for us. And that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Claus,
Thank you. I echo what Councilman Brandt just said, especially with respect to the department heads. And I also want to give a big thank you to our community. I live in a place called Tannen Apartments, sort of across from the post office. And our community rescued us when the management company for those buildings failed to put fuel in the tanks. So a lot of us were left at 50 degrees below zero with absolutely no heating fuel, and the community volunteered, stepped up, bought a lot of heating oil, deposited it in our tanks. So I'm very, very grateful. That really is, it proves that the North Pole is where the spirit of Christmas lives year round. So thank you. Oh, and I have one more thing. I would like to extend our meeting time beyond 10 o'clock tonight so we can have our executive session. So I move to extend our time.
can we wait till we get through council comments? I have one more.
Sure.
Ms. Rolfe?
I have no comments.
Okay. And
Any opposition to unanimous extent to extend the rules for the executive session? Seeing none, the rules are extended until midnight for the executive session.
Maybe we also have like a 5-minute break.
I would love a 5-minute break here before we move on to action item 14. The executive session, ChatGPT, OpenAI, public records request lawsuit. Can we take a 5-minute break by unanimous consent?
Yes.
Thank you.
you're good. Let's see, I gotta figure out how to.
quick nap.
You too. Yeah.
Ahead of schedule.
O'clock in the morning. 4 minute row like that. I kid you not. I still haven't got it from Seekins yet. They had to replace. What's the power steering? Electric, it's electric power steering.
That's a terrible design.
Happens.
We off the record, Madam Clerk?
No, we haven't had a motion to go into executive session yet.
So my wife's backup card.
Nice. Oh, dear, speech. Senior Sen.
Should I do it?
Please, if you want to make a motion, yes, sir.
Thank you. Move to go into executive session consistent with Alaska Statute 44.62.310C1. The council by majority vote may recess from a public meeting, work session, or other gathering of the council into executive session if the council considers no business during the executive session except those subjects mentioned in the motion calling for the executive session, which I'm making. And the motion includes this criteria. 2, subjects that tend to prejudice the reputation and character of any person, provided the person may request a public discussion. And 3, I would opt for 3, subjects that by law, city charter, or ordinances are required to be confidential. Thank you.
I can second.
Okay, into executive session.
But unanimous consent or?
Actually, I wanted to make a statement before we vote on it.
Okay,
So just, oh, I know that we're going in on the lawsuit that's pending. Anybody can notice from the names on the lawsuit that the party bringing the lawsuit is my husband. I did reach out by charter or by code as required to our clerk, Ms. Braniff, who's not here tonight, to let her know that I wasn't sure if there was a potential conflict since he is my husband. I don't believe that there is conflict because under our code, there's only a conflict if there's a pecuniary gain, which I don't see from this. And then my understanding is it was also raised to the attorneys who've been hired by the city, and they agreed that there is not a conflict. So just that on the record.
Okay, I appreciate that. I do have concern for that because in your husband's request, page 3, it says, wherefore plaintiff prays for judgment against the defendants, which would be the city of North Pole, for an injunction requiring.
North Pole and Larry Turch.
Oh, thank you for the correction. Requiring OpenAI ChatGPT produce records of the defendant Turch that plaintiff is entitled, whereof plaintiff prays for judgment against the defendant. Further on, it says the prejudgment interest, costs, and other such relief as court may deem just and equitable. So if the city was to fail at this, the court may provide some sort of financial relief to you and your husband, or through the household to your husband, which in my opinion does have a conflict of interest. I know that I've recused myself when it has come to voting on insurance.
Actually, you did not recuse yourself from that.
I have in prior, yes, sir.
You did not.
Okay. Councilman Brandt, do you have an opinion on this?
Yes, I'm trying to find the email, but the attorneys that we hired to handle this lawsuit, I asked them this specific question, and they said Ms. Rolfe does not have a conflict of interest at this time. If it comes to the point where Mr. Rolfe is asking for monetary gain, then at that time she would have a conflict. And that's coming directly from our attorneys.
Well, it'd be Mr. Rolfe who requests economic gain, but it would affect Mrs. Rolfe at that time. I agree. And this is sort of uncharted territory. So if the city wins, then it isn't an economic gain for the Rolfes. If the city loses, it could potentially be an economic gain. And I'm okay either way. I understand as a licensed bar attorney, you handle conflicts of interest all the time. I'm accepting of that and I understand that. Thank you for bringing that forth. I am either way on this, but as a council, we need to decide whether it's acceptable for you to say or ask you not to stay. And I'm okay with that, but as a council, we need to decide that before we move any further.
My understanding from our code is it only goes to a vote of council if the attorney or the clerk determine there is a conflict of interest, or if a council member believes that there's a conflict of interest, then it would go to a vote. From those that I've heard from, there's no conflict of interest.
Okay, and you're believing there's no conflict of interest moving forward?
No, I do not believe so. At this time, no, there is not.
Okay. So be it. With that being said, we move into executive session.
I'll take a roll on the motion to move into executive session. Mr. Claus?
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
And Mayor Turch?
Yes. Thank you. Please take us off the record.
Just
for
give
the
me 1
executive
second to
session.
get us off record.
I would ask that we all take our cell phones out and set them on the counter if there's any issue with that. That would be wonderful.